Hello everybody, this is JoJOverdrive, and we've reached it, the final part of our JoJolion retrospective, the moment everyone has been waiting for, the entire Wonder of You arc, going from chapter 83 to 110. It's very, very long. There's a short break in the middle with Ojiro, but besides that, it's just one fight the entire time, and there's so much that happens in it, and it's incredibly controversial, so we're gonna have a lot to talk about, I guarantee it. So starting off, a rather simple topic, the infamous flash forward scene.
Very, very uncontroversial.
Yes, very, very simple. So this is dumb, and it seems like everyone knows it. The flash forward, practically everything that is shown in it it's just meant as a misdirect. That's all it is. But it tries to be so much more throughout the entire final section of the story. It's like you have this in the back of your mind. You're like thinking, it's like, oh, how do we get to this point? It's like, ooh, what clues can we look for?
They keep reminding you about it. It's not like the Flashback man, where it's like that one super small thing and everyone's gonna forget about it. They keep having like the body bag or like Tsurugi going up the stairs, like the imagery of that.
Yeah, exactly. The entire half of his chapter is dedicated to this moment, and the countdown to the harvest is a constant presence throughout the entire final section of JoJolion. And so you keep this moment in the back of your mind for the entire thing, and it's just wrong. It's like, oh, it's trying to mislead you into thinking, one, that Narusuke's dead, and that two, Tsurugi is like doing evil stuff or whatever. But it's just a red herring. It's just wrong. I get what he was trying to do. It's like, ooh, this is what's gonna happen. It's like, oh, what you thought happened didn't happen. But that just it breaks all anticipation. Like you're waiting for this cool moment to happen, and then it doesn't ever happen. And the harvest being counted down to doesn't even matter in the first place, because harvesting the fruit isn't the point at the end even, and so it doesn't matter. It's just completely, we just have this random clock at the end. It's
Araki adding 18 ticking clocks at the end of his story to make sure like something happens.
Yeah, this has always been Araki always has like, well, not always, but usually has some sort of like
it's like part 6 where they have the ticking clock that also means nothing, because they're like, oh, Puchui defeated you because there isn't enough, or like you still have to wait 2 days, and then he's like, oh, but actually I don't, and then it's like, okay, then that ticking clock's useless.
In part 3 too, the whole premise is that you have to do it within a span of 50 days or whatever.
Exactly.
But
that's actually
like,
consistent though.
That is consistent, but I will point out in part 3, I don't think it's ever like, man, we sure are spending a lot of time here. We should probably get going. It's always just they meander a bit.
Well, like, they have to make sure that they defeat Dio right on like the last day.
Yeah, exactly, and I think they do.
I think they do. Yeah,
that's the whole point. Joseph back then even has enough time to like haggle for like kebabs or whatever. It takes his leisurely time with it, you know. So these clocks, I feel like, are just Araki's way of trying to like add extra layer of tension, but the tension's already there. Like I'm not watching the Dio fight and being like, ooh, I sure hope they beat him so that Holly lives. I'm like, I sure hope they beat him so that he doesn't kill a bunch of people. There's already tension there, and especially with here, there's already a ticking clock of Tsurugi is going to die. That's the ticking clock, but no, oh, now he's evil and gonna kill Narusuke, maybe. So having Tsurugi look like a possible villain also cancels out the previous like stakes, because now you don't care if Tsurugi dies because you know there's something wrong happening here. So the only thing left is Josuke wants to get it for Holly, and that again just makes this flash forward seem even more pointless.
Yeah, I agree. It's just confusing. Just this whole Wonder of You, it's so long, and it's just.
I feel like the whole Wonder of You has really, really, really good moments, but also really, really, really bad moments. I think that's just because it lasts for so long. That's.
I don't get why he needed it to be like 15 chapters in the hospital.
It just feels like it's too much. There's too much information that he's trying to do over just the course of one fight that it ends up. It feels too bloated. It feels a bit messy. But I can see like
take a shot every time.
Wants. Yeah.
Take a shot every time Rai mentions the age of Akefu.
Oh my god! I will say it's a bit. Back when it was first coming out, and I was reading through it monthly. By the time I caught up with JoJolion, we were at the very beginning of Head Doctor. We had the first chapter. Was 84, I believe. I finished JoJolion. I caught up to it at chapter 84, and that's like Head Doctor has very, very first appeared. So my experience of reading the Wonder Review was month to month to month for the course of like a few years, which was a bit much. But when I did like I've read through it twice, again more. It's paced a bit better. I still think it's a bit long.
Yeah, when you can, I mean,
when you could read through it, stuff like that doesn't seem as noticeable. Like Rai does mention the age thing a lot, which is obviously just a way to tell you that his movements are supernatural. But it's not like as big of a deal. Like if you ask someone about it who had just read it now, they probably wouldn't even realize they were mentioning it that much unless you specifically pointed it out to them. So there's a lot of little things like
I read it all in a row, and even I definitely noticed 89 years old. How can it be 89 years old? There's no way it can be 89 years old.
Right. I feel like
question mark, little emoji of the Head Doctor.
Ryven says like, I feel like a broken record here, but 89, really? It's like, okay, I get the idea. He's probably not 89. Which the answer is he's like even older, I think Toru is supposed to be.
One thing I'd like to mention in this part is that they're driving Jobin's Lamborghini.
Oh yes. I forgot about because first came out in black and white, and I forget it's the same gold Lamborghini or whatever.
It's gold-plated, yeah.
It's Jobin's gold-plated Lamborghini. So Araki did not forget. Araki is a genius for not forgetting the gold Lamborghini.
And one thing I found funny is that Toru in this part actually looks like he has hair, unlike at the end of JoJolion where it just looks like it just looks like a hat. It's just a circle.
It's just there's no, in the beginning you can see little like strands of hair on the edge, but by the end it's just a flat. It's perfectly spherical. It is incredibly a lot of characters in JoJo go through these like. The design process is whatever aspects of the character design he likes the most, he'll emphasize it more. And he clearly liked like the hair, and so he made it more prominent part of the design. I'd say like other things like how Josuke's design changes, like in the earlier parts in like the teaser promo, his sailor outfit is a lot more detailed. But once he actually got to writing JoJolion, it's a much simpler design. So I assume he just liked the sailor motif more than having these little details on it. So he kept it to what he wanted to focus on. But Toru, for as much as I complain about the bastard, good design. I will say good.
Great villain design.
Good visuals. Little teddy bear arms.
I know people complain, yeah, but I don't care. The teddy bears, everything. It's fun. Guys, lighten up.
He's a fun dude. Yeah, guys, just stop heckling Toru.
What was the leave Brittany alone? Leave Toru alone.
It's a classic. The colors though chosen for the Shueisha release are the worst thing I've seen in my lifetime. I don't know what they were thinking. You're
like, okay, and then you look down, and you're just like, oh,
what are they doing? Everyone always sees like the piss-colored pants. That's like the classic. But just everything else doesn't work. He has 5 different colors throughout him. He doesn't have it's not a color scheme. They didn't know what to do for his color outfit, so they just put the whole freaking color spectrum on one character design, and they just prayed. they just took a dartboard filled with the whole color wheel and just start throwing darts. It's like, hair blue, pants yellow. I don't even remember what the rest is. I think it's the shirt's purple. I think it's such a hodgepodge. Like,
well, I like purple as the base design.
Yeah. Okay.
If his whole outfit was black and purple.
When I was reading JoJolion Black and White, no idea how this popped into my head. No clue. Dark green was the main color for me. Hair had the little like white, like the highlighted part of the hair that was dark green. The jacket was gonna be dark green. And Wonder of You, it's kind of like phased out of my mind because I've seen so much fan art where it's not dark green. I don't know where I got this idea, but I just always imagined like the colored part of Wonder of You's face was also the same shade of like green. No clue why. That's just for even when I remember when I saw someone's like fan art for the first time and it was colored, I was like, wait a second, why does this look green? Isn't it supposed to be green? And apparently it just was not a thing that ever was official, and I don't know where I got this.
I'm ready for the next like 5 years for the Part 9 protagonist to be colored like Simpsons.
Oh
because
God.
of the New Year's card.
The codes. Oh my God. I hope the problem with Shueisha colors is that once a character gets a color scheme, everyone just depicts them as that one color scheme. There's a rare occasion. I see. There's people out there doing their own fun, unique designs, which I'm more of a fan of than just sticking to whatever color they choose. But especially with I don't want to see the influx of red and blue Wonder of You. That's what's gonna be in a lot of fan art. Honestly, though, I thought that ever since the color chapters of the later chapters got revealed, I thought there would be more, more of Shueisha colored Wonder of You and Toru. But I guess they were black and white for so long that people kind of never adjusted to it, and I rarely see people use the official colors. So I guess maybe my theory will be wrong, and maybe there is hope for the fan base to not accept Piss Pants Toru as canon.
What do you think about the part where the whole thing with Tsurugi with the gate crashing on the other kid?
That's a very fun. Again, this is leaning into the precedent that Tsurugi is becoming evil or whatever, which was which I liked. It was kind of like Jobin's influence on Tsurugi, which again, if he was the main villain, would have been very cool. Tsurugi, like, oh, what's he do? I don't think, do we ever, okay, in the same like section or whatever, we see that the head doctor was also like in the camera footage or whatever by the gate. Do you think that it was Calamity or Tsurugi actually like?
No, it's Calamity. It's 100%.
I mean, it's okay. You say 100%. It's not 100. It is not 100%. They never say it directly.
It's Calamity. Yeah.
I'm still not sure. Tsurugi could have done that.
No doubt about it.
Tsurugi was such a creep at the beginning of his introduction. It's not impossible for him to attack.
Personally, I have zero doubt. It's Calamity.
It just seems weird that the Calamity would arbitrarily attack this one random child. I mean, to be fair, that's what Calamity is. But, like, the ability Wonder of You itself is mostly if you're targeting Toru or the Doctor specifically. And I have no idea why this random child would be the one affected. But if we're going by the Araki's concept overall of Calamity and not just the ability of, oh, no matter how nice of a person or no matter who you are, Calamity can strike randomly to anyone. No one is safe or whatever. So I guess that applies. But it leaves a negative impression overall because of the flash forward. The flash forward is, if you remove the flash forward from the part, the quality of reading through it, I think, increases. Because you don't have that precedent set for the entire section.
I find it so funny how the whole of this chapter 84 basically is them going through the hospital being like chasing after the head doctor, and then they just like bump into Toru there, who is like so like inconspicuous, like he's just there, and then they bump into him and they're like, oh yeah, this guy who Yasuo knows, and it definitely looks like he's someone. He's just there, too, at the exact same time.
People were sus of Toru from the very beginning. I remember that. People were doing all kinds of wild theories. Him being the main villain, never on the table from the beginning. No one considered that for a second.
Yeah, Jobin is like the obvious one who you would think would be the main villain, but
yeah, this was compared to like.
It's so funny looking through this. How many times he goes, seriously, this guy's 89? Yeah, 89.
We get
happens a lot.
We get a peek at non Doctor Wonder of You, which seems a bit. It's a fun design. The little arm razor blades. They don't get used ever, but he has these like sword things on his arms, which are just a cool visual thing, I guess.
Once he's in All-Star Battle R, they'll use that.
Yes, I want to see that. Once Toru is never getting added ever, because JoJolion does not exist in the eyes of the developers.
I really like how they kind of juxtapose the two storylines, though. Like, looking back on it, of the Tsurugi stuff and the Josuke stuff in the hospital, so it's not just the hospital stuff for the little bit. And then you get the mystery of the head doctor through both storylines. It's kind of like the through line.
Yeah, that effect of Wonder of You, how he seemingly is in like every place at once, is a very cool both visual and story element that we get. So cool,
this makes
like,
Mitsuba more of an interesting character after even because like she did nothing until Dr. Wu, and so now it's like two storylines back to back where you're like, well, now she's more interesting than like most of the other Higashikatas, like Daya, who does nothing, or like anyone else.
For really. How little Mitsuba's in the part, she really does leave much more of an impression than like 75% of the other Higashikatas. Like, as you were saying, Daya basically does nothing for the rest of it. Basically, most of them, after their first appearances, don't really do much. Like, Kato doesn't do much either.
Joshu gets Milagro Man, though.
Joshu gets the Milagro Man, so he stands out. But after Milagro Man, he basically does nothing but be weird and creepy. And even Narusuke doesn't do a lot until the end.
I still like him,
Jobin. No, yeah, he's still very cool. I think Narusuke's lack of appearances make up for the fact that he's a very interesting character just makes up for the lack of him being in the part, and also he has more significant story stuff. Literally, Daya and Hato don't do anything.
One part I found so hilarious is when Mitsuba comes home and is like looking for Jobin, and then Jobin's like, "You thought I wouldn't notice that you got plastic surgery," and then he's like, "I love it. It reminds me of my Beatles."
he's turned on by Beatles. It's very funny. How much she said she spent like the equivalent to like $4 million on this nose or whatever, and Jobin just does not care. I think having the nose be gone for the rest of the part is it's a cool visual character trait for her to have.
Yeah. I like this also. This section kind of provides the last little bit of like goofy Jobin before the end, where he goes full villain mode. I like.
Even in that section, immediately afterwards, he does his villain speech or whatever about, "In this world, there is only strength and weakness." Right after saying that he wants to have sex with beetles or whatever.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very humorous.
It's also funny because he brings the beetle into the bed.
Yeah, I know. He wants to have sex with beetles. Not... Mitsuba, I'm gonna stay on this train for a hot second. Mitsuba, I like how she's even after last arc where we got to know her more or whatever. We get to see that she's still like not a nice person or whatever, because you'd think that the usual JoJo thing is once you encounter the character, after their creepiness factor kind of goes away after the initial encounter. That happened with like Bruno, for example. Bruno's a weirdo at the beginning of part 5, like licking Giorno and all that, and then he's chill for the rest of it. But Mitsuba's like threatening the other people in like the PTA or whatever. It's very cool, and we get the scene with the gate and Tsurugi, as you said, and Mitsuba is just like, nah, he didn't do it. Nope, we're good. We're all good. If you try and say anything more, I'm going to threaten you and sue you. And I think it's very I love me a good more morally gray character. Very, very nice. Makes sense that she'd be married to Jobin.
Yeah. Girl boss.
Girl boss. That's like gatekeep, except it's a literal gate.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm scrolling through here. Jobin has his monologue or whatever.
And remember, he has the real tree or whatever, the real Lokakaka.
Yes, he has the
They fake the branch.
Currently Jobin is the one with the most like what is it? Leverage. He's the one with the most leverage in this scenario. He's not in the red. And then the head doctor shows up, and then that's when everything, the calamities strike and everything.
Yeah, when they trip over the bench and stuff, and there's just like blood everywhere. And we mentioned in the last video, I know, but just to say it in this one too, the calamity doesn't do equivalent damage to just like falling over on something. It does a magnitude greater, which I think a lot of people are confused about that, and are like, how come they get this hurt from like falling over something? And it's because it does way more than that.
I would have thought that would be obvious, but it seems like, especially, of course, as it gets to later, once every single instance of calamity is an instant kill, it's hard to remember that, like,
that's where people, I think,
small
get
things,
confused.
It's like bumping into a chair will break your leg or whatever.
In the rain will like have like literally be like bullets going down.
Yeah, exactly. But once you get to later, to where touching one of the bubbles instantly murks you, it's kind of hard to get the context of, oh, this is supposed to be amplified. Which
I really do like in this part of the story too, how they really emphasize the doctors being like the henchmen of them or whatever, and it makes it feel like part 5 with La Squadra.
No, it's literally we have the head doctor as the boss equivalent, and we have his main elite guard of doctors, and then we have like the subsequent lower like La Squadra equivalent gang which was Damo's gang, and
especially Urban Gorilla reminds me a lot of oh my god,
Urban Gorilla is supposed to be like Chocolata and Secco. Yeah, I don't remember if I mentioned this or not, but that's like supposed to be it. And then this especially feels like the last part of part 5 with Silver Chariot, and they're trying to after they've discovered that Diavolo is like messing with them or whatever. They're chasing after Silver Chariot Requiem, except in this case it's like the doctor. And they're like, oh, we're all dying one by one. What are we doing? Calamity is striking us, except it's not literally Calamity. But it's this, in terms of the story, it matches like the same segment. So that's why I was thinking this was going to be the second to last story part. It's because I thought this was the Requiem, like the Silver Chariot Requiem equivalent. I thought there would be one last like small fight against like Jobin, but no, this is the final section of the story. And it goes on for a while. I'm scrolling through here. They just keep on chasing after this guy for a while.
Rai really does not have a good time, losing his fingers, being spaghettified, and then having his legs be shredded.
I
and then with the bubbles,
that. Yeah,
with the legs being shredded, it's like, ooh.
Okay, so a little like tiny side tangent. I don't want to go too long on about it. But the black like smudging censorship that they do or whatever always like looks more violent than the actual like whatever is being censored. Because you look at the black smudges, and your imagination thinks of something so much worse than whatever violent act is being committed. Like, you see the bottom half of someone's chin completely smudged out, and you're like, oh god, what are they doing to this poor man? And then you see it's just like, oh, it's a little bit unhinged. There's a bit of red there, maybe. It's like, oh, it's not too gory. They're not that expensive of an animation
What's
studio.
going on when Jotaro is smoking the cigarettes?
Oh yeah, what? No, what's happening? It makes it more obvious that he's smoking when you have the black smudge over it than when he's not. It's so funny. I'm not gonna try and pretend I understand Japanese censorship laws on television, but I'm glad they stopped doing it by part 5, which is practically completely uncensored. There's a couple moments, but I hope part 8 gets all of its complete gory glory in, because that would just make me very happy, because Wonder of You has a very high kill count. I mentioned last episode how last or maybe second to last episode, don't remember, Part 8 has a very high kill count, and I think people forget how many people just die during Wonder of You. Like, for instance, they're chasing after the head doctor in a bus, and then this random dude approaches Gappy, and then just his neck snaps in the middle of nowhere, and everyone, the police, like, I think they arrest. Yeah, I think they arrest him at this moment, or the police are on the run after Josuke because they think he just murdered this random guy.
Yeah.
Very, very.
But they have like the people there saying like, no, he didn't. So that's why when people were like, why didn't Josuke get arrested at the end or whatever? That's because what probably happened is off screen, he probably gets taken to the police department, and then everyone goes, no, nothing happened.
They probably confirm that. Yeah, nothing happened. Even at this part, Toru is even saying like, no, he's all good. I saw what happened. I understand. Of course, he's just like gaslighting them or whatever. But I do think it's very funny to have the main villain be the ex-boyfriend of the love interest or whatever. That's a fun idea.
He's also like 80 years old.
Yeah, he's 89 years old. What? That can't be right.
That can't be right.
That's not possible. Toru is the ultimate groomer, man. Absolute psychopath. Ooh, and then at the end of the first encounter with the head doctor, and Toru shows up and talks to Yasuo for a bit, we get the return of the goat Ojiro back from fun. Man,
I cannot believe that he brought him back. What was your reaction when you were reading it and you saw he came back after this long?
I didn't realize who it was at the very first. I had no clue who this guy was because it's one random. I'm not used to memorizing random side characters from the beginning that show up for a few pages. And for most of Fun, you don't even see Ojiro. I didn't remember his name, so I see him at the beginning of this with the in the jacuzzi, and I'm like, oh, a new side character, how fun. And it's only when like his fingers fall off or whatever, I'm like, wait a second, hold on. It's this guy. What is he doing here?
He has all of the fake fingers on him. He's truly Kid Named Finger.
He's true. Yes, he's Kid Named Finger. Yeah, yes. Kid Named No Fingers, even perhaps.
Oh,
That what does this
Jonathan
say about
Banks
the story?
Jonathan in JoJolion live action.
Yes. What's our casting for the JoJolion live action? How about Tom Holland, Gappy?
You gotta get Jonathan Banks as Satoru Kefu.
Yeah.
Zendaya, Yasuo, Tom Holland, Josuke.
Tom Holland can also play the head.
Timothy Chalamet, Toru.
Chris Pratt, Toru. You know, classic choices. No, but I think it's. I have always loved recurring minor villains. That's been like always a thing to me. When they kind of did that a lot back in part 5, but there was never this big of a gap. It was like
Horse was like the like prime example.
Whole Horse and Boingo was like the biggest moment up to this point where it's like,
and now we're getting more of that in Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak that we are talking about in our Crazy Diamond's Demonic Heartbreak discussions only on YouTube.
Go watch it later after this video. Get the watch time on this video, and remember go to that video. No, but I think his inclusion is even though it's only like 2 chapters. He's in this for like only 2 chapters. They're very good. I kind of wish though that the Ojiro section was pushed a tiny bit. You'd have to rearrange a couple things. Pushed a tiny bit later because it feels like it would be a good like pace breaker after doing Wonder of You for so long. But we've only really encountered Wonder of You for like 5 seconds. We don't even know the stand name at this point. And it feels like if this little break was moved to a bit later in the arc, I feel like it would have. Been a lot more impactful. But it still is. If we include this in the Wonder of You arc, which technically shouldn't, but it's kind of weird to be like Wonder of You, the first segment, and then it's not, and then we're back at it.
The title of it is the Wonder of You Part 4. So like
Part 5, in the re-releases, I'm pretty sure they call it like Ojiro Returns. I think
in the volumes it's really? Wonder of You. Yes, really.
Wow. That's actually surprising, due to the fact that Wonder of You is not in this part of the story.
One kind of crazy part that people forget about a lot is when Tsurugi like accidentally almost drowns the baby.
Yeah, he's getting like
That's,
messed
like,
up or
messed
whatever.
up.
He's losing control over his. Okay, so this also leans more into the What was I gonna say? In the flash forward, because we always have to bring up the flash forward to show how bad of a decision it was. In the flash forward, the whole like dialogue over it is talking about how like, oh, when people stands have the ability to like gain like power and whatnot, and like they're a reflection of the user's souls and like personalities or whatever. So at this point of the story, you think that Tsurugi is like gonna maybe Tsurugi's stand is gonna evolve or something due to this fact, and we even kind of see like, oh, it's either some weird Calamity business or Tsurugi accidentally setting off Paper Moon King to make the mother mistake the baby for something else, and the baby's just drowning. Either way, something's happening with Tsurugi, but it doesn't really lead to anything. It just kind of is like, oh, he's dying now. And that's it. But it's again, I think this part gets improved a lot if you don't think about the flash forward a lot, which you wouldn't if you're just reading it straight through all the way. A lot of the qualms I have with this part of the story came from the slow release schedule, which I understand isn't the best way to judge a story, is based on like, oh, how if it had a slow release schedule. But at the same time, it's not like I can reread this for the first time again or whatever. Those impressions, I'll always have those impressions still in my mind. So I think they are significant enough to bring up. I think a release schedule for a series should always be like brought into question. I don't think it's like completely unimportant, but it shouldn't be a major focus. But I like this section. He meets Ojiro right immediately after that. And Ojiro's actually kind of Ojiro being Ojiro is a pretty scary guy because he enjoys. I remember the part at the beginning of his arc where he's like drowning that one girl underwater or whatever with his stand, and now he's threatening a small child. So clearly, this is a very good person, and good things will happen to him in the future. And yeah, the same thing that happened to the baby kind of happens with Ojiro, to where like his senses get all messed up and he almost falls off a cliff or whatever, and so he hangs onto the tree, whatever. And then we get into peak Jobin, which is every single scene that Jobin is in, except for the last one Jobin is in. I really like the kind of tension that's set up in this scene, and how it's a different kind of tension than the original fun fight. Because in the original fun fight, it's more of just a survival like contest or whatever. But in this, there's an actual goal. We have the fruits, and Jobin wants to protect the fruit, when Ojiro wants to see what's happening with the fruit or whatever. So reusing previous stand users but giving them new contexts and situations in their fights, I think is something that should be done more often, I think. And due to the fact that Araki did this pretty late in a series, I can say for sure that Part 9 will probably include something similar to this, because I think it was a good success.
Part 9 is going to have flash forwards in it.
Throughout the entire part, of course.
Yeah. Every chapter has a flash forward to the next chapter.
Actually, did you know that at the beginning of every chapter, there's a flash forward to the chapter you're reading? It's called Turning the Page.
What?
Did you know?
Flip-O-Rama?
No way. Did you know if you read the panels backwards, you get to see forward into the future?
No way.
That's a true fact.
Well, that's what most JoJo fans do anyway. They just
that actually explain a lot. Actually,
they read it backwards.
That's not a bad theory. That like people reading Stone Ocean, for example, like read left to right, and they're like,
guys, why did Josuke get buried in the ground at the end?
Guys, this is kind of a bizarre story. It's kind of incoherent. I mean, there's some cool visuals, but there's just the story is dumb and stupid. Clearly, Araki forgot how to write. very cool moment that happens here is when you think that Jobin and Tsurugi are just dead because he crashes the window onto them or whatever. But then Tsurugi's like, actually, that was never real the whole time. That's a fun part. And this whole section actually concludes because of Speed King showing off his true ability. Speed King has already touched this doorknob, or in this example, it's a pair of dollars, or Japanese currency yen or whatever. And it's a very cool moment. It's a very JoJo moment where it's like, you think you've won, but actually it is I who has won from the beginning. Oh my god. And I wish Speed King did this more. I wish he didn't get like one more appearance and then was never seen again. Because this is very cool.
It definitely shows like the full extent of his powers, which is awesome. But imagine if he could have used it against Josuke.
Imagine about, because it's already like established that Josuke can't take stuff from his body, so it's not like he can reverse the heat or whatever. So he'd have to like just survive being touched by Speed King, and that would go for some cool encounters.
This whole section kind of brings back a lot of the body horror in JoJolion, where you have the fake glass going through Jobin and Tsurugi, and then you have the slow melting of Ojiro's face and body.
It's very unique gore, which I always give Araki credit for his unique gore. It's not just like the standard violence. It's like, oh, his skin is bubbling and boiling or whatever. It's fun. He clearly has a lot of fun with it, and
I like also when he uses the phone to transfer the heat too.
Yeah. What was I saying? Once we get to this section once we get to just like this final Wonder of You section of JoJolion, Araki's art becomes like peak. And you can see that even now with Ojiro like bubbling up, like it looks very, very
going
cool.
to part 9 with this art style is gonna be nuts.
Oh my god, it's gonna be crazy. Us going to part 9 and Jobin is alive for no reason, and I stand up and I give a
coffin.
I applaud. Oh yeah, I forgot.
I think. I was just gonna say we now go back to we pick back up with like Josuke and Rai and stuff, and I find it hilarious how they're literally using packing tape and wood glue to put together his legs.
yeah. I was gonna say, I literally forgot that immediately after the conclusion of the Ojiro section, Nosuke like sees a newspaper article with Gappy and Rai in it, and it's like, these people are murder suspects, and he's like, what's happening? He's like, excuse me? I stopped looking after this guy for 5 seconds, and now he's already getting arrested. And then connecting that is like, oh, there's the mysterious deaths of Ojiro and whoever Ojiro was like dating or whatever.
I also forgot that the golden Lamborghini is in a tree.
Yes, they hide to hide from the cops. They hide up in a tree. I think
they put it in a tree. The golden Lamborghini in a tree. They don't just like hide up in there themselves.
And then the tree trimmer comes up, and Mamazuku's like, "Hey, guy, I know. Could you just leave us up here?" And this guy doesn't even flinch. He's just like, "Oh, hi, Mamazuku. Yeah, sure, I can leave you alone." He doesn't even like feel like, what? Why are you in a car? This is just average Mamazuku like shenanigans.
The part 4 like isms of this part where it just totally everyone knows each other in the town.
Yeah, there could have been a bit more of that, but I think it's a pretty good balance. Part 4 had that feeling way more accentuated because you get like that one panel where like literally every single minor villain we encountered up to that point is like teamed up with Josuke or whatever to find Kira or whatever. And we never get anything like this, but it's more subtle, nice touches, like, oh, other people know Mamazuku. He's like a well-known individual in the gardening industry, I guess, would be the best way to put it.
The farming industry.
Yes. I think I completely did I forget to say this last time, but the connections to part 4 with Mamazuku, with how he lives up in the lift and connecting to the guy that lived in the electrical tower. I don't think I mentioned that last time, but that's a really like fun connection to part 4 that I wouldn't like expect him to think of. It's not even like he's the universe equivalent. It's just like the idea is the same, and we get even more details about it here. But Mamazuku, I think, gets I hear people complain that he kind of just becomes more of an exposition dump later on, but I do think that if I think Mamazuku being an exposition dump is a much better idea than like any other character in this part, because Mamazuku, as like this character who knows everything about like plants and such, it makes sense for him to know as much as possible about, like, for example, the Lokakaka, because that's the main driving plot of this. Of course, Mamazuku would know a lot about the spin, because it's well known that dealing with nature or whatever, you become accustomed to the golden ratio or whatever. So I think it could have been toned back a little, like 89 years old. It's like, okay, I get it. You're trying to tell us something important. Okay, I get it. I understand it. Even now in this panel with him in the Lamborghini, he mentions 89 years old. Yes, I understand. Maybe he does say it a lot. Okay, maybe
he does.
Maybe he does say it so maybe it is really funny. Okay.
He can't be 89. He's like 88, I think.
Yeah,
and then you get to see Wonder of You, where it's like the naked Wonder of You design.
Yeah. Which I suppose doesn't make
it's so funny
sense.
That he just wears clothes.
Yeah, I was trying to think. I'm kind of thinking right now. It doesn't really make sense. Why is he showing up like not without the clothes, or even why is he showing up with clothes? Let's explain later.
I think it's supposed to be because you're not supposed to like know that Wonder of You and the head doctor are the same person. So if he was wearing the clothes of the head doctor, you would instantly go, "Oh, he's either is the head doctor or is the head doctor's
So you're thinking it's for you're thinking it's for audience interpretation only, and that in universe he would be the head doctor appearance wise.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it means in universe. It's
later in the part we'll get an explanation in one of the little stand like blurbs or whatever that people who see Wonder of You interpret it as the head doctor until they understand the concept of Calamity, in which he looks like the stand hybrid form or whatever, or at least that's what it says in the little text bubble, unless it's just translated wrong, which I trust them.
So what I'm thinking is that they don't interpret what's going on as the head doctor's doing, at least at that part.
Got it. Okay, that does make sense.
And then one of my favorite parts here, which I mentioned earlier, is the rain going down on them, and you just see his hand just like crumble.
Yeah. With it. There's this whole moment, of the rain starts like hitting, and then we get the really cool panel of his hand collapsing, and then they realize they're surrounded, and then Josuke's like, I know what I have to do, and he gets like pelleted with bullets or whatever, to like intentionally get him sent to the hospital or whatever, without technically pursuing him. It's like, see, that's a fun workaround with the pursuing. He's not going after the head doctor. He's unconscious and just happens to be going to the hospital. See, that's fun. It also helps that just the rain like being like bullets is just a cool visual. Wonder of You leads to a lot of really, really cool visual moments like this. I remember when I was going through my reread, it was like a noticeable like improvement in art from the moment Wonder of You starts. Like just paneling, not even just like the drawings look better, which they do. Like paneling structure, it feels better. It has that nice rhythm to it, which could be he's putting more effort into it because it's heading to the finale, which he kind of does in every part, where the ending he makes it more and more intense and everything. But it is still noticeable, which again makes me think Wonder of You, I think overall is good. I don't think it's great. I think overall, if you take the complete package, I think it's good. That's my verdict on it. But there's
Wonder of You is it's such a cool stand, you can't mess it up.
Yeah, there's so many little like cool bits and pieces that combine together, but in between those cool bits and pieces, there's just nitpicks, but those nitpicks just keep on building up, and combined with like the slow part and the slow part of the story and the slow release schedule, it makes me have conflicting feelings about it. which is why I've been dreading this discussion for so long. Well, not dreading, but because there's just so many aspects to this that I remember combing through this part of the story because it was like the last bit of story we had left and absorbing in every single detail, and sometimes those details just didn't mean anything and it would just be so disappointing. But overall, going through it, it's good. We get good parts. A bit of Toru characterization is up next after Josuke is taken to the hospital. He gets a little, which I assume this is, in retrospect, this is like a kind of villain speech or whatever. But at first it was just like, oh, he's just so kind of strange. And I like this. I like this little moment. I think Toru is a bit boring at times. Which
Toru boring?
No, Wait, you're just saying this now? I have never heard you say anything like this ever before once. This is new information to me. I do think he has some good dialogue though. I think just plain JoJolion dialogue period is always interesting. I think he always handles it well, but Toru's just a bit of a nothing character, really. His goal, even at the end, is the same as the minor villains. Like, he doesn't really ever, for the rest of the parts, the main villain has some sort of grander goal or whatever, which I'm fine with breaking the mold. But if you're breaking the mold, make whatever your new mold is good, please. That's kind of important. I feel like just having Toru be, oh, he is just a guy who wants the same thing as the rest of the minor villains, which is just, we're gonna take the fruit, and we're gonna become powerful, and then rock humans are gonna become better than regular humans. Maybe I'm just in this for money. It doesn't seem to matter that much. Also, he likes Yasuho, I guess. That's also a thing there. It's just very, like, he has this vague, just, I want power, and that's boring. How could you, I thought Cars is good, but Cars was like always like my least favorite of the villains until Toru. Cars was just, not that interesting of a character, and then Toru comes around is even somehow less interesting. Absolutely fascinating. But I will say his dialogue is intriguing.
Yeah. Toru best villain of the series. I mean,
you need to stop right now, okay? I'm gonna leave JoJoVerdrive. I can't take this anymore. Okay, we're done. We're done here.
Hey guys, JoJoVerdrive JoJolion discussion. So I'm gonna be doing this alone now. The next part has to do with Mitsuba, and then she cuts off her fingers when she's with Wonder View.
Yeah.
And then I like how she uses her stand to, like, put it back on.
Yeah. Awakening Three Leaves has pretty creative applications to it. We never, again, I said this last time, we never get to see enough of it. I think we should have seen more. But the fact that we see little bits like this are always fun. Especially any explanation to why a character is surviving being heavily injured is heavily appreciated, because for like back in part 3, once a stand encounter is done, you get a full heal. You're good. You're back to peak performance. But having in-universe explanations for why a character is like healed is much more interesting and creative than just them being healed. In later parts, after part 3, for example, 4 and 5, Araki's just like, oh, the main character has a healing ability, so damage doesn't matter. But also, I will say, part 8 isn't immune to this. Like, in early Josuke, after like Born This Way, gets like shredded by like a wheel or whatever, and his eyelids are like frozen and peeling off or whatever, and then he's just fine. He's just fine by next chapter. So he's still not immune to these old tropes he has. But I can ignore stuff like that for sake of the story. But Toru being lame, I can never forgive him for that.
Yeah. So now we kind of go into the this is like the real final part where they're fighting in the hospital, and I like how Josuke is like laying in the bed, and then he's just like he goes to the security guard or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like the security guard comes up to his bed, and then the Calamity strikes, and it's just like him flipping onto his
the security guard just falls
and it
over.
rips his skin like butter.
Yeah. It's Wonder of You is busted, absolutely busted. A bit too busted, one might say. An ability too powerful that there would be no way to defeat it unless you got literally an invincible beat everything ability. It's like the whole unstoppable force versus immovable object, except one of them has to move eventually.
Another funny thing in this chapter is we get a sequel to the children wearing their adult outfits as kids, with Kira with the massive rabbit wearing the sailor suit when he's 4 years old. Or no, 4.
He's young. That's
and he's wearing the same outfit.
This specific chapter we're in with Holly is like actually like the best section of Wonder of You, I think, at least for me. Like this here until like probably until like some later parts of Wonder of You, this is like the best portion. This is like the best little chunk. This is such a great... This is the part where we find out that Holly's been tested on with the Lokakaka. And this is also the chapter we find out it's called Lokakaka, not Rokakaka. So,
yeah.
Big moment
what do you
for the
think
JoJolion
about
family.
Holly in the series, kind of? Because this is like her last main part where she does stuff.
I think Holly is integral to give Josuke motivation. And I think this... I love this ending portion with Josuke, like, accepting, like, he like wants to have Holly as his like mother or whatever. I think it's a very nice moment. At this point, because until this point, we're not really sure. Josuke has just been chasing after, like, I'm doing this because I feel obligated to as Josefumi, but it really feels like he's becoming more of himself rather than having his past define his motivation, which absolutely great part, like, evolution of character in the entirety of JoJolion. Josuke is underappreciated in the fandom. He needs more love. I need to see him higher on more rankings. And I need people to stop thinking his only character trait is that he's, I forget my past. Ooh, whoopsie, I have 4 balls. That's it. It's like, please, read the part, goddammit. He's so peak. But no.
One of the best JoJos.
Absolutely. And then he drinks the serum, and his mouth gets calamited, and he's not able to breathe through his mouth. But then and then nice bit of continuity. Holly pours the rest, some more serum into his cheek wound that he got from the rain bullet. He got a hole in his cheek. So that's a nice bit of damage continuity. We love to see it. And now we have that sick as hell panel where he has the rocks on the side of his body.
I know,
and he hits the pose wherever he's like, I'm gonna save you. It's so cool. This chapter.
I like how his underwear band says JoJo,
Where did he buy that, bro? Where did he get that?
I need the JoJo branded underwear.
Hell yeah! I need that. I will give me it now. I will give you money.
I will never understand why Rocky decided to not have the rocks be a permanent part of his design after this.
I thought it would be a permanent part of his design because it like signified like, oh, this is like the permanent consequences of his actions. He's a changed man now. But no, they dissolve in water or whatever in later. But he should have kept it. It's very cool. And one of them goes into his eye or whatever, and it's like, what? That's crazy.
Maybe when he comes back in part 9, he'll have like a rock beard or something.
Side note: if we're comparing Josuke to Jotaro again, his face is kind of split down it.
Yeah, like it's the other side though. So I don't think that was intentional.
Okay, if you think K with the cane in her eye is intentional, then you should think this is. That's what I'll say it is.
I think K was intentional. I think it's because this is on the other side. That's why I don't really think it.
It's on the other side because it's different or whatever. Because it's like the parallel universe. I think K's is on the left eye too. Actually,
I'm almost. I could swear K's was on the right.
We'll get to it soon. We're about to get to that part.
Yeah. I love the panel. This is gonna go so hard when it's animated, where it's just him sitting in the hospital room.
Oh yeah, it's just him alone, and he's sitting there. And he's like, "I'll make him come to me," and it's like, da da da. It's oh my god. And I remember this was a big thing. He spends like a few chapters just sitting in this chair, and so it was a big thing that like month after month it's like, what's Josuke doing? He's just sitting there. He's been sitting there for like half a year now.
Gaming.
He's waiting. And then we cut to my actual super favorite part of Wonder of You, which has nothing to do with Wonder of You at all. It's actually Jobin's shenanigans. It's Jobin's main villaining until he isn't. Where Yasuho is investigating the Higashikata house or whatever. And then Jobin throws the phone in the toilet or whatever. Yeah. And it's super menacing, but it's kind of goofy that he just Yasuo's dying from being in a toilet. It's just the right amount of JoJo cheese that I expect, but it's still a very cool. Yasuho again gets mutilated because she can't catch a single break this whole damn part, and oh my god, it's so Jobin is so threatening in this final like stretch of Jobin that it would have been so good. I'm getting too mad. I need to calm myself down. I need to chill. It's okay that Jobin is not the main villain. It's alright. It's fine. It's okay. I'm fine. We're all fine. We get more monologuing her stuff. She's dying. And then, is it Mitsuba that comes by next? Yes! We get more character for Mitsuba. Where, at first you think, oh, Mitsuba's gonna rescue Yasuho because they work together in Dr. Wu. It's like, oh, that makes sense. But then Mitsuba is just like, nah, actually, screw you. I don't care about you. Oh, it's so, there's, this part is so good. It's what could have been if we just got more Jobin. That's, if I had to summarize my thoughts on JoJolion in just one thought, it's just, if Jobin was the main villain, it probably would have been the best part. That's what makes Toru so bad for me. It's not because he himself is like the worst. He's like, okay, he's all right. He does his job. He's not like, I don't think he's a bad villain. Also, his ability is peak, but it's the fact that he's not Jobin. That's what stings the hardest.
But he's Prometheus giving fire to the humans. Don't you understand this?
That's a loose thing at best and doesn't even mean anything at all, ever. Oh, and Yasuho loses her arm. My God, please, Araki, stop. Give her, please, something. Give her a shred of joy. This entire
to be fair, she gets her arm back later, so it's like fine, but...
Oh, totally glossed over. There's so much in Wonder of You. Sometimes I just miss things like this. Back when they're back at the hospital, before this all even happens, they're deciding like who to chase after, and Yasuho's like, oh, we should probably go after Jobin. I have a suspicion that he actually has bigger things behind this. And Mamazuku's like, what are you, an idiot? What are you, stupid? What do you want? We're going after the head doctor. You're stupid, Yasuho. Leave me alone. And even Josuke's like, yeah, that's kind of stupid. You're kind of being dumb. And it's like, okay, I feel bad because she's correct. And then she gets tortured, and then her arm cut off, and I'm like, she was like so dead to me at this point in terms of like, this is where the JoBro dies. This is it. It's over. Her arm's gone. There's no way she comes back from this. But she actually does. Thank God that she does not die. That would have, I would have.
JoJo Lands Chapter 1. Don't.
I'm not gonna.
Be too sure. He gets ran over by a car in the first chapter.
Calamity! Oh my...
Like Brian Griffin from Family Guy.
Yes! I can't
Josuke,
believe
look out!
He's still alive! Yeah.
That's what's gonna happen. It's gonna be a parallel of Golden Winds opening when the Part 9 JoJo accidentally gets a car to run over Yasuo. This is canon, guys. It's happening.
Absolutely. And then Calamity strikes and causes one of the Awakening 3 Leaves arrows to like shoot directly into the wall, revealing the Lokakuga fruit. And now the whole family's like, "What, Jobin? You were being malicious the entire time? What? We could have never seen this coming." And then we get
Oh my god, I can't believe it! Joshu is the one behind everything.
Oh my god, Joshu, what are you doing? And they just beat up Joshu. That's the good ending. And nothing of value was lost. What are we not? I get into new volumes. Load faster. There we go. This is probably not chapter. What is this? 95 is probably my favorite JoJolion chapter individually. This isn't my favorite like arc. Obviously, I said that before. But individual chapter, I think 95 is my favorite, and it's where, it's the moment where Jobin basically, quote unquote, you think he kills Narusuke or whatever. He should.
It's so good.
He should have killed. This moment is so good. This whole chapter is the build up to the that the entire part has been leading to, with every single like plot like thread connecting together. We get the return of King Nothing, and he activates his ability and it looks so good, and you see Ojiro again. It's like everything has led up to this moment. Jobin has dug himself into such a deep ditch at this point, and it's just so sad. Jobin is like so sad that he has to kill his, well, he doesn't have to kill his dad, of course. I mean, from the perspective of Jobin, he feels like this is the only thing he can do, and he's just like crying the whole time, and it's so intense. It feels like,
and I like how this is all juxtaposed with Tsurugi like going full body horror mode with the rock disease.
Yeah, it looks like Tsurugi's even like becoming like an origami basically, which you know, it's fun. Jobin's character as a whole is just so like incredibly tragic, because it feels like he's just in so deep at this point that he says like, oh, I want what's best for the Higashikata family, but it ends up like trying to kill them and like threaten them. It's like, oh, what a guy, what a cool main villain for the part of JoJolion. Until
something I do like the panel where it's like him cradling his dad, but now every time I see it, I get reminded of that one edit where it's like the cartoon sound effects.
Shut up! No, you don't ruin this for me. Don't do this. Yeah, absolutely fantastic moment. He's like, we're moving forward on this path, the right path. I'm like, oh my god, what a Chad.
And how he like fully takes control of the family.
Yeah.
And he's like, stay back to his siblings.
There was no reason to have Narusuke alive at the end, other than to.
You don't even see him. You don't even see him.
There's no reason for him to be alive. They just say he's alive, guys.
He's gonna be integral in Part 9.
It's
he's not even gonna be in Part 9. It's just gonna be completely pointless.
It's like in early Dragon Ball dubs where they'd make it more PG, and anytime there was this one specific point where Nappa blows up a helicopter, and Tien goes, "It's okay, guys, they made it. I can see their parachutes," but you never actually see them. He just says it.
The whole concept of the Shadow Realm.
Yeah, it's just like, guys, Narusuke's alive, guys. He's all good. We're good. Yay, he's here. It's literally just to like. To make the flash forward more of a red herring. That's literally all it's for. It's like, oh, you thought he was dead, but actually, no, he wasn't. Woo! Clap. Get it? Because you thought a thing would happen and then it didn't happen, and that's good. That's good. That's how stories should be written. You should establish a thing and then immediately counter it, because that's always the best thing to do ever. You know, the classic Rise of Skywalker strategy of canceling out what just happened.
I'm Josuke Higashikata.
that is!
And me acting as if that isn't the actual ending.
The actual ending. But that does it good, at least.
Yeah, exactly.
It would have been even better if Soft and White Go Beyond was named with King in his name. But
somehow Toru returned.
Oh my, no, okay. No. If Wonder View is like one of the coolest stands of all time, right? If Toru is back, I'm actually never reading this again. I'm never touching this. I don't want to see him ever again. He's showing
up in flashbacks.
There's a non-zero chance.
Him versus Joseph.
We discuss a lot about how Part 9, we hope, picks up all of the things that Part 8 left off. That's because Part 8 is so incredibly good that we want more of it. But
remember, Part 8 picks up a lot of stuff from Part 7 as well.
Not that much. It doesn't pick up every single goddamn character in it, which is what we usually talk about.
Every lingering character you would care about, they pick up.
We just discussed about how, what if Toru shows up in flashbacks? Funny Valentine does not show up in a single flashback of JoJolion. And he's like a super major character. There is absolutely no reason for us to expect anything.
Well, I think the difference is that this is like modern day, and we know for a fact that Toru, like, he was in the background of the whole thing with Joseph. I don't know.
You are coping. That's what I'm saying.
Coping.
You are literally coping. Okay. In Part 8, you keep on saying, "Oh, there's so many connections." You know what we get? We get Johnny flashback. We get the Holy Corpse. We get a panel of Sandman and Gyro, and we get the ending stuff.
Would you ever guessed that Sandman would have been
no, Part 8 Sandman design, go hard. Let's go. Yeah. We get Lucy at the end, and Lucy says more than any other character does, and she was the youngest person in Part 7, and it even has to be a flashback. I do not think Part 9 is gonna be that much of a sequel.
Josuke is going to be in it though.
I hope so. Again, I hope so. There is. It doesn't necessarily have to. We never see, right? We never see First Universe Josuke ever again. After his part, he was alive. He was young. He could have done plenty of stuff. We never see him. We never see Giorno, but at this point he was busted.
Why didn't he show up in Made in Heaven and save them with Golden Experience Requiem? Rocky, you would the ending would have been better if Golden Experience Requiem killed Pucci.
You say that as if you literally aren't like, well, Josuke's obviously showing up in Part 9.
I'm not saying he's not going to show up as a Deus Ex Machina, but I think him mentioning the lands at the end is a specific thing. He knew what he wanted to do next.
Okay, I'm preparing myself for the worst. That's what I'm preparing for, and the worst is never seeing any of these people again, which would be a very Part 4 thing to do, because Part 4 we never see any of them again except for Jotaro, who isn't part of Part 4. No, he's not from Part 4.
Josuke 8 is gonna show up and then immediately die because of Calamity.
Yes, he's gonna die. Again,
you know how Dio is the villain of Parts 1 and 3? Mm-hmm. We're gonna have Wonder View be the villains of 8 and 9.
Stop. Stop saying these words. You're scaring me. Please cease. I don't want to see Wonder View ever again. I already suffered years. Even though it's good and I really like it, it was still agonizing, okay? I've had enough of my fill of Wonder View. I don't need any more. Even though, out of every stand from Part 8, Wonder View is most likely to appear again due to the ending stuff we get about it, just being a part of the universe or whatever.
Things are getting heated in the JoJo Part 9 community.
Things are getting heated in the JoJOverdrive community.
The JoJOverdrive community.
A little later, we get these cool chapter covers with we get the head doctor, multiple head doctors floating in midair to reference.
Yes, that's a great one.
The one painting or whatever, which I have always thought is great. And then we get Mamazuku sitting in prison.
Yeah.
I remember I thought this chapter was kind of out of nowhere because suddenly we're switching to Mamazuku just being here. But it
Stone Ocean.
It's a nice little, my Stone Ocean reference. And when it was coming out month to month, it was incredibly agonizing to hear the explanation of Wonder View's ability every single chapter. This whole half of this chapter is just Mamazuku going, here's my explanation of the ability, of what I think the ability is. He even kind of gets it. He says it's something about a karma or something, doing things gives you bad karma and it kills you or something, which is just kind of wrong. He just gets it wrong. and then earlier last chapter we had Mitsuba trying to explain the ability. They go through the same Wonder of You motions a bit too much, again, which is why I think this arc would have been so much better if it was just a tiny bit shorter, because it would have been a lot more nicely condensed. But I think Araki just had so many ideas to go with it that he just felt like he had to go with all of them.
Yeah.
Why it was stretched out longer.
So now we get to probably the single worst part of JoJolion, which is Jobin's death.
Yes.
It is so bad in every way. It's so, because it's played off as if it's just like he's hurt, but like he'll come back. Like, I know the panel's like red or whatever, but like not for an instant. The panel is red in the colored version. Even it's like it's so okay. The build up to his death, I think, is incredible. I think with Head Doctor, he's moving around like the glass or whatever, like he's a supernatural entity moving through like computer screens and whatnot. It's kind of crazy. And then we get a Speed King stand rush, but he just gets like it feels so like just put. I just hate I hate that it happens literally this soon after he takes control of the family.
Yeah, he could have done
way
so much
soon.
more with that aspect of the story, but he just kind of throws it away.
But then you go from one of the actually, wait, were you gonna say something more about his death?
Tiny bit small, but the fact that the wound is so small, it seemed like such an obvious. This is not. He's actually dead. He's just out of it.
I know it's Calamity, but yeah, I even agree.
It was such a until chapter like 109, I was convinced he was alive. Maybe I was probably just coping, but I was this was everyone thought he was alive. Everyone was like, "There's no way he's dead. That's too stupid for him to be dead just right then." And he even has this like little shoehorned like, "Oh, before I go, Mitsuba, I love you and Tsurugi. Okay, bye." And then he just dies, and that's it. He's just gone.
Yep. So what I was gonna say is that you go from that part, which I hate, to then Toru's defining moment, which is him with Crazy Train, and you're like, oh, it's like a fake out. Like, is the stand called Crazy Train? That's such a cool name. And then he switches it to Wonder of You, and then he just starts dancing.
And he starts.
And 1000%. They are gonna do a full dance routine for this, and they'll get Wonder of You for it. In the anime, this is the part 5 dance for sure.
They need to do the full Wonder of You. I know that, like, for example, part 6 they put in Hallelujah or whatever of Pucci. That's a much older song. It's much easier to get to use that song than Elvis songs. But to be fair, Elvis isn't exactly as much of a pop culture icon as he was like years ago. So it's probably easier to get.
Gonna play Toru.
Yeah.
That way you can get the song to be authentic.
Oh my god. I also think it's kind of funny that he's like dancing and schmoving to it, but Wonder if you use like a ballad or whatever. It's like, how are you dancing to that?
Yeah.
It's very slow. You can't do very fast movements.
And he's like snapping his fingers to it. It's like, what? No.
What a crazy guy. Good Toru moment. The best Toru moment probably.
Yeah.
Not the best Wonder of You moment, but just Toru. In my mind, I'll always keep separate Head Doctor and Toru because they feel like two different like entities in my brain. Toru, I feel nothing but
kind of are
hatred and malice, but Wonder of You, I'm like, what a good guy, what a chill fellow. What's that one meme where it's like the Squidward or whatever? It's like, can't stand Toru, me and Head Doctor, me and the
bestie. Yeah, this part is just, it's so great. And I think we mentioned this too. The specific Wonder of You Elvis album came out after JoJolion, or like after 2011.
Yeah, the art that is on
it came out in 2016.
Like, iPod Touch or whatever. Yeah, it has a little. I think it's like a rip-off Apple symbol on the back of his phone or whatever. So it's like an iPhone or it's 2011. It's probably iPod Touch. But this song did not come out until like 2016. Yeah, there was no way. The timeline
version of it, because
shattered.
Wonder of You did not originate as an Elvis song. Like basically most Elvis songs didn't originate as an Elvis song. So it's a cover, but he popularized it. So that's why it's like when you hear people say, "Oh, it's an Elvis reference," it's because specifically they use the Elvis version. But it is funny that it's a music reference after JoJolion came out in in universe.
Yeah, literally in universe.
References.
And when the part first started, which combining that with the fact that what was I gonna say? Toru's like initial design is like it changes so quickly. Makes me think that Toru, like as a whole, wasn't always the plan. Like it just doesn't seem right. Like it feels like for example, Jobin is introduced. Like Jobin has that weird first panel where his design's a bit different. He's in the background mostly, but once he shows up, he never like changes outside of just general art style changes. But Toru's first appearance to just a few chapters later is a pretty drastic change that makes me think like,
yeah.
To be fair, the obvious example is Funny Valentine shifts completely. I would attribute that to art style, even though the build is obviously very different.
It's because he goes into an alternate universe.
Yeah, sure, you can headcanon that all you want. I don't think it'll make it true.
No, the actual headcanon I like, and this is the one Araki I think actually said is what like he joke intends, is that he just gets super shredded on the train across the Gilmore run. Like through that.
It doesn't make too much sense in the Civil War flashbacks. He's also shredded
at all.
Whatever.
But the this next part I also really like, and I forgot that it happens this late. I like how the head doctor is just like standing in the corner on standby mode.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the guy comes in, the reporter or whatever.
The goofiest looking character design I've seen in my life.
And this is in a part with Joshu.
Oh yeah. How do you make a haircut worse than Joshu's? It's like, what are you doing?
Having the neck turn like completely into stone. And like at first you're like, oh man, shoot, the back of his neck's like stone, and then slowly you realize the entirety of his spinal column turned to stone, and you just see it go crack, and it's like, oh, that goes hard.
Over this entire scene, I think it's a lot of fun characterization for Head Doctor, because Head Doctor is my homie, and I like how he's just like, okay, so you are pursuing me, interesting. What if hypothetically speaking, you opened the jar and befell a calamity? Now, I don't know if that actually happened, but what if it did, though? And it kind of... I don't know if it's like him rewriting history to make it so that a calamity happens, but it's still a... It's a fun moment how... It's basically become like an iconic phrase where he's like, are you intending to pursue me? Or whatever. I see that in like YouTube comments all the time related to Wonder Review. I think this will become... an iconic moment overall. That next snap, as you described, is very intense. And then I like the part where Mamazuku thinks he's being followed by the head doctor, and he's just kind of looking at him behind him. He's like, what's happening here?
Yeah,
he's like, he's so scared.
Is he behind me?
Oh,
he's right behind me. If Marvel writers wrote JoJolion.
Oh my god. I didn't even realize that, but once he cuts back to Toru, he's still singing the song. I just realized that whole section. Oh, something I forgot to mention.
That's why they're gonna extend it.
This is the one of the first, if not the first instance that I can think of where the name of the character stand, the user is aware of the song reference. It like that. It is a song reference, which kind of okay. Stand names as a whole have always been a bit. Stand names and abilities have always been a bit peculiar on how the user knows them. Sometimes it feels like, are all these characters just coincidentally, are they picking their own names? Or...
I mean, in the first part, it makes sense because all of them are like the tarot cards or whatever.
It's their fate to have this specific card assigned to that person or whatever.
So that one, like, it makes more sense. And then he only had like music references be like the names of characters, like Vanilla Ice and stuff. But then now that he went for part 4, it's like, was Kira just like a massive Queen fan?
Yeah, it's very and. You could argue that, like, they're not aware of their music references, it's just a meta thing. But once you get to here, it's like, the character is fully aware of the song and is likely named their stand after the Elvis Presley song. It's like, then what about everyone else? Do characters, once they obtain their stands, just in their minds automatically know what it is? Same thing with abilities. Some people just inherently know what their stand ability is. Like, there is no way that the notorious BIG user, like... guessed that if he died, he would become a thing. Like, he knew
I do like how Araki plays on it, though, by putting the crazy train thing in there, because he knows that the audience was, like, waiting for the name of the band.
For the name. We had gotten, the Wonder of You, parentheses, Miracle of Your Love, as a few chapter titles for now, but we had also gotten, like, before we released this, there was, like, Endless Calamity, or like, Pursuit or something was I remember, a big thing. But it was impossible to guess, or whatever, what that could possibly mean, because chapter titles have been song references before. Like, one volume of JoJolion is called, like, Whole Lotta Love, or whatever, which is unrelated to anything in the part. It's just a song reference and is the name of the volume. It doesn't mean anything, so we had no clue Wonder of You would be the name of the stand.
I thought that was Haruno's stand.
Well, yes, it is. It's Haruno's stand.
We have to mention him in every
single video. How could I forget Haruno, the most integral character of the series? Yada yada yada.
He's been in the next door room that Josuke's sitting in, also sitting in that room. With his sniper rifle.
Yeah.
I can't believe Josuke's still sitting in the chair.
Imagine month after month after month, like he's sitting in that chair for in real life half a year or something. It is a bit insane. And remember, he would like take a yearly break once a month, like every February. Usually February would be his break month. Thank God it's the shortest month.
I love Wonder of You, like phasing through the walls and stuff.
This is the best. It's hard to describe. Okay, I was gonna call it the best Wonder of You chapter. I don't mean the arc. I mean the chapter with like the stand. I mean, this is the best appearance of Wonder of You, where he's like half stand. He's like this supernatural occurrence. He is Calamity. I don't want to try and sound all like. I don't want to sound like a video essayist or whatever. It's like Wonder of You is Calamity. He's the endless Calamity. And then the music sting hits, and it's like, this is an unstoppable force of nature. But that's what he is.
But how does this connect back to ancient Greek mythology?
How does this connect back to Toru's stupid hair? That's the reason.
So, and then we have Rai going stone free mode with his thing there. Man, I just love that panel of Josuke and Rai in there. Rai just looking like a little kid, like scared. Yeah. And Josuke's just like sitting there, and then the head doctor's just like kneeling over. It's so cool.
Yeah. Every single visual of the head doctor in this section, once he goes hybrid mode, goes so hard.
Yeah. Yasuo's again having a horrible time, and you're like, you see Joshu here, and then I remember when I was reading it, and he was like, I'm gonna help you, Yasuo. I was like, yay, Joshu, finally, he's gonna have his hero arc. And then he just
immediately afterwards. Okay.
Oh. But there's a break in between, which is where...
I was about to say, we finally made it. Oh my gosh, the best character of all time. I love my little rock insect guy. He's so cool and epic.
I love that it's the popsicle towers you would make in like elementary school.
Yeah. There's some Japanese name for it or whatever that they give it.
Araki like dropped his kid off at school. I don't know how old his kids are or anything, but I'm just imagining he like dropped his kids off at school and he looked at like them making the popsicle stick thing and he's like, he struck
Holy shit, we gotta put this in. I will say though, this is just a freaking like Araki's like, wait a second. If Josuke's not going to attack him, and this is an only defensive ability, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? He's like, quickly, rock insects, go! Also, the naming convention of the rock animals having funny names, I guess, just like a lot of syllables, because we got obla di, obla die, da-do-do-do-da-da-da-da, freaking do-re-mi-fa-sol-la-ti-do, and then we get Radio Gaga. It's like, what was going through your head, man? What's going on here? But yeah, it's mostly just all of the rock animal instances are mostly just like, oh, we need to attack Josuke in some way. Here's a little like, I wouldn't call it filler because it's necessary to move it forward, but it's not like the most important thing of all time.
The next chapter's interesting to me because you get to see Hermes in it.
Oh my god, okay, this is 99, right? This is
99, which is like, no, 99, where you get the whole Rockhuman backstory.
Because people are anticipating, 99, 100 for ages, and just immediately going into the part first like page is bam, Enya, bam, Hermes. It's like,
Hermes.
what the heck? Bam, the girl from The Ring. It's like, and this caused the whole
yeah.
This caused the whole thing where it was like, what? They were rock humans? It's like, no, it's just a bunch of different various
women. You have to admit, because I also like was confused for when I just initially read it.
I was too. I will say, but
he makes it interesting because, but also that's the whole point of it. Is it's supposed to? You're not supposed to.
It's the whole point is they're you can't tell them apart or whatever.
I mentioned this in our part 9 discussion. I find it very, very fascinating that he mentions that human males can reproduce with rock human women, but you can't do it the other way around, because I've mentioned that's going to come back later in part 9. I think he's gonna want to tie it into Diego again or some way, and the way that you make Diego have a direct child that would still be alive, and could 100% definitely be alive, would be if it's a rock human child.
Absolutely. That just makes the most sense to me. I hope
that is my ultimate crackhead theory, because and again, he has these little things that are just probably like, when it's easier for the rock humans to have children or something like that. That's all he thought in his head. But this just feels like something he could totally grab back to later and be like, also, I want to do something with this.
I think it is incredibly important to point out that this is like a soft retcon. Initially, they're in all the way back in Yatsuyo or whatever, the first rock human interactions, we get it's kind of, that's why I call it a soft retcon, because it was never from a reliable source in universe, but it was a practically in universe explanation of rock humans, and in that part it says it is impossible for rock humans and regular humans to have children. It's directly said that you can't do it.
So it's super interesting.
So he intentionally had to go back on that and be like, no, specifically this combination is possible. That's what makes me think that this
I would have thought
more.
Maybe it's Toru's dad, but you never hear anything about that. It's just he gets left in the forest. So yeah, I don't know, and it was at the end of the part, so it's something
major theory about this part of the section is that people were wondering if Kato was a rock human. And that was gonna that would have been crazy. Is that she was a rock human the whole time, and she was trying to
But then would that have made because I wasn't familiar with these series, were the Higashikatas then theorized to all be rock humans secretly? Because I don't think you could have done that. No,
it was just it was Narusuke was a normal guy, and Kato was a rock human, and they were I don't remember how it. I think it's we don't have enough information on how rock human hybrids function. So
that's true.
Maybe there's just a way that it's a 50-50 chance they inherit the rock human stuff, and they just got really lucky or something, or even they just don't, because we don't have
or maybe if it could be anything, but I will. It's an interesting thought, but I'm glad that didn't go that way, and I think it would have just made things a little muddled. I do like the flashback chapter though, and seeing Toru rise out of the ground and stuff.
This was an insane lore drop of randomly all of a sudden cutting off the middle of the fight. Rock children are tiny, 1 centimeter long babies that hook onto hornets' nests and consume the queen for 18 years until they have a growth spurt and explode. It's what? Why, Rocky? Why are you telling us this exactly?
It's so bizarre.
Thank you. I can't believe. Also, later we get a panel of a bunch of different animals, and we get a lion. Well, not a lion. We get a tiger, but no lion. So we could have had a JoJo lion. That would have been so perfect to put the JoJo lion.
I can't believe he didn't want to put the JoJo lion.
We have naked Toru with his stupid hair. So funny.
He's like a Ken doll, bro.
Yeah. No. Damn, bro, not thick at all, bro. Damn. What a shame. One cheek the is secret real. Rock human anatomy. What did you just say? Are you kidding? The one cheek is real. Stop. Stop saying that. Oh, and then all of a sudden, bam, we switch over to Steel Ball Run. You turn the page, and bam,
I know.
And then Sandman, the Devil's Palm, Johnny, Lucy, and then Lucy's part of the Speedwagon Foundation. What's going on here?
You're you have it's so cool to see them in the later part 8 style.
And then here it explains that rock humans are drawn to like sacred places, aka Devil's Palms, which explains why most of them are stand users. Because initially we get the in-universe blurb where it's like 90% of rock humans are stand users, and it's like, oh, is this a natural biological thing? And it's like here it's like no, they just happen to hang around places that give people stands, so that's why most of them are stand users. And then you turn the page again, and the Dio with the mask and Enya with the stando. No, what? What is going? What are you?
It's so like whiplash.
Yeah,
the whole chapter.
I remember reading this. I was freaking out. I was like, "What's going on?"
How much original universe references you get in here.
Seeing the mask
because the most you get is a bonus side chapter in Steel Ball Run where it's literally just Araki out of universe saying, the spin is the new version of Hamon, basically.
Yeah, and he's kind of like...
And then you have, like, Mask and Arrow. He does a recap. But now it's, like... It's not in universe, but I'm saying it's in the manga where you're seeing the stand arrow and you're seeing the mask.
The first manga appearance of the original universe.
This is another instance where, like, you have to read parts 1 through 8 just straight through. Or else these little things will not make sense.
They just don't hit as hard, and... It's you miss out on a lot.
I love that panel of it's Toru at the top with all of the
this was the moment where it's pretty obvious he's the main villain at this point.
Yeah,
like, he's showing that like, oh, this is it. I still thought Jobin was alive, but it's pretty obvious he's the main villain at this point. And then
you also get Rai
flashbacks.
This is actually, I think we accidentally talked about this earlier. We talked about it last time.
I did a tangent, I believe.
Because we were talking about how all the characters don't look old or whatever, except for like Norisuke and the poor Tom or whatever.
Yeah.
And so in this chapter where it's just Norisuke without
facial hair.
Soul,
yeah, he looks a million years younger.
30 years younger.
That's like the only difference visually. It also kind of it makes me forget how much of an age gap there is between Mamazuku and Norisuke. Like, because you see kid Mamazuku with Norisuke here, and it's like, oh, he's like much younger.
Anytime you get a flashback with someone, you know they're dead. I mean, everyone knows Kakyoin is the absolute worst example of all time.
Where Araki like literally admits to last minute being like, I wanted to give him more backstory, but I kind of didn't have any place to put it, so I'm gonna put it in last minute.
Literally. The second before, they're like he didn't like his parents or something. Whatever, I'm forgetting his full backstory.
He was bullied as a child. He was bullied. He was bullied as a child. The only friend he had was a stand, but now he has friends who have stands and they understand him. So he's happy now, and then he dies. Literally in universe 1 second later, because it's like happens right before the time stop. So,
do you think that at this part, in terms of the story, when Norisuke originally mentions Flow, you're like, it's probably not going to come back. It's like, this isn't that important. But then it's mentioned here, like Gravity in part 6. Do you think this is going to be something that is going to show up again in part 9, Flow?
Absolutely, because this idea has been carried on technically since part 7. This whole concept of redirecting like misfortune has been the whole point of the Holy Corpse from the beginning or whatever. That's what Love Train is. Love Train is essentially Beta Wonder of You. They're practically, if I don't want to call Araki like cheap or whatever, they're practically the same ability. Attack the user, and then except in Love Train's case, it deflects it to someone else and not directly at the attacker. But it's basically the same thing. It's like, oh, you attack me.
I wanted to mention this. Because I found this kind of an interesting theory about Love Train. So, the theory is that Love Train is Jesus' stand, and that originally the point of it was to do the opposite of what Valentine does for it, where the whole concept is that Jesus takes on all the sins of everyone, basically. Ever.
Yes.
So the theory is that Love Train was originally supposed to be used to direct all of the misfortune towards Jesus and away from everyone else. So the theory is that you by using Love Train in the wrong way, it directs it the opposite way. And I was like, that is so cool.
That's a very cool thing. I like that a lot. Also, well, I think Love Train is also the product. He says it's kind of it's a bit muddled a bit because there's just so much stuff happening at that point in the story. But Love Train heavily utilizes D4C in terms of its ability. The reason why it redistributes misfortune is because it's cutting a dimensional hole through reality and it's sending the misfortune.
I find it super interesting how Love Train and Wonder of You are like very similar.
Yes. I think the main villain of Part 9 will also have a very similar stand. If we went with time stuff in the first part,
1 through 6 is time and hour space.
Yeah, wherein he manipulates, it's reality manipulation instead of time manipulation. And then so we have Dialga for the first 6, and then Palkia for the next trilogy, and all the spin-offs. Let's have Giratina show up.
Dark Matter.
Yeah, exactly. Antimatter. That's just the spin, actually.
Yeah. So we continue the fight with the rock animal, which is just
it's a bit long. I like the paneling in this section. It's nice, but it's like this doesn't matter. Please move on. And then
I think at this part too, Araki has a big habit of like 75% of the backgrounds are just the lines. Mm-hmm. Instead of like the actual background, so I don't know what was going on.
Action lines or whatever.
Yeah, the action lines. He uses them a lot more frequently.
I never actually noticed that. I don't mind them too much, as I just said. I don't noticed, but
I love when you get the dark determination.
Literally, I'm like on that page, like looking at it right now.
Yeah.
Like when I'm scrolling.
Yeah.
It's
so good.
At first you think it might be Josuke, but the hat, it's like Mamazuku's or whatever. People were kind of arguing which one was which because they both have hats or whatever, so it kind of looks the same from like that close up. But I think like the edge of the hat is pretty clear. It's Mamazuku. Also due to the fact that they were talking directly about Mamazuku's backstory.
And then he dies.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was.
Okay, moving on. This section, chapter 100. Oh, this was a big moment in the fandom. Chapter 1. It's crazy that we reached this moment. 100 monthly chapters is insane.
Skill Ball Run is not in 100. It doesn't even have 100 chapters.
He stops at like 97. He like holds himself back. Yeah. He's like, I'm done. He didn't want to hold back for Wonder Review. Apparently, he just kept on going. But okay. People thought D4C was long back then.
Crazy. D4C split up though. That's why it works better. Mm-hmm. You have D4C parts like 1 through 8 or something, and then you have a middle section, and then you go back to it. It works.
You even get like Chocolate Disco in there. There's
because it's D4C versus Diego, and then D4C versus Johnny.
Yeah. So there's like different stuff happens. And this part we get one of the I'm skipping all the rest of the fight because who cares. We get one of the coolest moments ever where Mamazuku gets right up to Wonder of You. He's like, what is the exact distance he says? Like a couple centimeters or something. And he's like, I managed to get this close to him. And this was like, I remember reading through this for the first time. It's like so cool. It's so insanely tense or whatever. It's like, what's gonna happen? He's right there. And even at this point, Wonder of You's even saying like, I don't know what's gonna happen right here. This has never happened to me before. So I'm kind of curious to see what's gonna happen. Toru's kind of panicking right now. But then freaking Mamazuku gets angry.
I love the panel where it's the circle of Wonder of You and he just goes, and then Mamazuku gets pissed off and grabs him, which is like, oh damn. That's like the first physical contact anyone's ever made with him. And then he misses the doggy style sword finger shot. And you see the one hair braid get cut off or whatever, and like, oh my god, what's happened? The freaking Snoop Dogg hair. What's happened to him? And then you get the Kakyoin equivalent where he has a bunch of holes in him or whatever. And it's like, whoa, that's crazy. His brain is gone at this point. There's a hole through it. I have no idea how he's still relatively conscious. He doesn't act like his brain is like scooped out with a melon involved, bro. Like just.
And then he goes on to talk about the spin at chapter 100. That's like crazy. This is the first mention of the spin in like all of JoJolion, basically, except for like literally Tusk Act 4 appearing in it, but they never like talk about it. But like in the modern timeline, this is the first example where Mamazuku's like, it's spinning, it's the spin, it exists. And then he's gonna say that a lot for the next few chapters.
He's so freaking dead, bro.
He's so dead, man.
Don't worry about me, Josuke. I'll be fine. Has a hole in his head.
Yeah, and then he opens up his shirt to reveal that like he has a huge hole in his abdomen. And it's cool because, you know, like, the shirt's not ripped. Oh, but his body got destroyed. Oh, what's happening there? Ooh.
I love him using his little rope as the spin.
Thank you.
I don't care. I know we heavily disagree about this.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they introduce spin and go beyond here.
No, that's dumb. It's too random. It's too all of a sudden.
I think it's better for me than Golden Experience Requiem.
No,
I know that's unpopular. I know it is. I totally get why people like Golden
Experience Requiem has the build up, the whole arc of it, of where we need to get this arrow. The arrow has to unlock the power, and then we see the potential of it with Silver Chariot Requiem.
Spin is something that is it was shown to be obviously relevant through the entirety of Part 7, and then you have the spin transferring with the Holy Corpse earlier with Johnny. I'm like, I don't know. I find it so cool how spin came back.
I think it's cool how it came back. I think it should have come back in a much more natural way than just being randomly.
He should have just introduced it earlier.
I think it is dumb how earlier Mamazuku sees that the he figures out that soft and wet's bubbles are just like spin or like lines or whatever. They're tiny little lines or whatever. Why doesn't he just tell them then? There is literally no reason for him to tell him this when he's already dying. Like, what was his plan here? It doesn't make it.
I guess because he thought he was gonna kill the head doctor there.
Yeah, okay, but no, for a guy, okay, for the entire time when he was fighting Urban Gorilla, he was like, we have like a 5% chance of survival here. For a guy who is like that careful about like dying and stuff, it would be stupid for him to just be like, I'll tell him later sometime, and he gets to. But it's just it's too much. Gold Experience Requiem, we got the presence of the arrow. We knew what we did for the entire arc. We had that whole build up to get to it. When we finally get to it, we get the payoff. This is just, you can do it. And then Josuke's like, oh, I guess I can do it now. And he just can do it. He can't do it well, but the fact that he just has these invisible spin bubbles, like, supposedly this whole time, it's like, then why haven't we gotten at least one hint? Again, a lot of JoJolion would have been much better if the things that like happened got set up.
If he could have done another draft of it after he had written the entire thing, done one more draft and seeded things in earlier.
Everything in JoJolion has, like, except for like the Josefumi and Kira stuff, everything that gets hints to leading to something never gets anything, and the things that actually happen don't get any hints towards it happening. There's no build-up. There's fake build-up, and there's things that happen with no build-up, except for the peak vitamin C stuff that had the build-up, and that's like the best part because it did it properly. But Go Beyond is very cool though. Go Beyond is impeccably cool. Should have been named with King in the name due to the thematic relevance of the Higashikata stuff, but
it literally could have just been Go Beyond King or something, or King Go Beyond.
The fact that Go Beyond isn't even like a reference. It's not even a song reference. Like, as far as I'm aware, like, it's literally just generic anime Go Beyond thing, which good. I good trope. Now whenever a My Hero fan says it, I can mock them because I'm allowed to make fun of them because now it's a JoJo reference. And now we see Toru eating bees. That's important, I think. Oh, sorry, the hornets or whatever. Oh, sorry, Toru, for being bee racist. Why are you doing that, Toru? The character explanation is that he's a little creep, and it's just a generic. This JoJo character is weird. How do I show that they're weird? Here's a thing that they do. Okay, we're moving on now. Thanks. Yeah, why does he show him eating the bees? It doesn't lead into anything. It just shows him doing it. Okay, whatever. Back to the fight. Joshu is having a redemption arc until he doesn't. It's like, wow, thanks, Joshu. You're so cool. And he's gonna do an equivalent exchange for Yasuo's arm. Just going through, there's just a lot of dialogue here that doesn't matter too much. Oh, and then he's like, I'm gonna molest you now, Yoso. And I was like, oh. Okay. We really got to do this for Joshu? Really can't have a semblance of an arc here, really? Even after Milligro Man being peak? Okay. Sure. But then Yasuho, epic girl boss, as they say on the internet, just takes the fruit herself and eats it. And then we get a cool segment where we see like the whole equivalent exchange process happen, where their bodies are no clipping into each other, and we get the one panel with Yasuho with a little baby stub of an arm, and then Joshu gets what he deserves and he no longer has an arm, and he's freaking out about that. This whole section it's just a nice little section. I like Yasuho. Yasuho is a fun character. Again, I think this could have been a bit shorter. Which I'm sounding like a broken record here. 89 years old. It could have been a bit shorter. Really, could have been a bit shorter.
Do you think? Let's see here. What do you think about the flashback now? Because we get the whole thing where we find out
the
Toru
Yasuho grooming flashback.
Yes,
I think this is one of the best parts of the Wonder Review section. I like this a lot. I think if you're setting up the idea that Toru's been here all along, this specifically is good because Toru has always had a connection with Yasuho. I think, for example, making it so that Mamazuku's dad died to Toru, like Calamity or whatever, that's a bit like, okay, sure, I'll accept that, but it doesn't mean much. But Yasuho has always had the connection to Toru from the very beginning. That's like been the whole thing. So having her backstory being even more connected than we even knew, like, he was there the whole time, that's good. I like it. Again, he has the same outfit.
We get hoodie Toru,
except
like he's wearing the hoodie.
Yeah, he's mysterious. Ooh, and he's gifting humanity fire like the Prometheus. Oh my God, the lore.
This is what makes him the best.
Toru is good now. Toru is good because the lore. The rocks. The explanation for them is because Araki said so. There are these rocks.
I always love when you see the stands. When like the main characters are like kids or whatever, or like when Polnareff's younger, so the stands are just like kid versions of the stands, which is a bit inconsistent because like Death 13 is baby Stando, but it's a whole thing.
Imagine if freaking Manish Boy becomes an adult or whatever, and suddenly Death 13's just like jacked, like he's like huge. That's my headcanon. Baby Paisley Park. Baby Yasuho, indirectly, not indirectly, directly helps Toru, but like unknowingly helps Toru, replace the head doctor in society or whatever, which means that I guess he's just been hanging out at this hospital for like a decade at this point, because this flashback's like 10 years old, so I guess that makes sense.
It does make sense because you see the age of the head doctor and it all matches up.
Do you think Wonder of View's ability can disguise himself as any person? Because that has to be, right?
I never thought about that. Yeah, you're right.
The picture of Satoru, that one.
Oh wait, no,
exactly the same.
No. Yeah, actually, no, he can't because the head doctor, the head doctor version of a Kefu does not look like a Kefu.
Yeah, no,
so
we see the one photo we get, it looks like
they
an old
look
guy,
different.
But they look different. Their haircut's different. Everything's different.
Significantly different. Yeah, he has a whole goatee and stuff.
Yeah, I can see it. Yeah. So, okay. That's a fun little detail. Moving on.
We kind of get the main part where Toru's coming down to Yasuo.
Yeah, and this is a nice part where Toru's like, if you look at me, you're just gonna instantly die. That's just how it be. I'm sorry about that.
We have the panel with Joshu, the face.
Which one?
Where he goes, "Are you gonna fondle Josuke's balls with my right hand?"
I am behind. Okay. Let me go for.
It's on page 30 of chapter 102.
I'm here again. Okay. So this specific like section, I think gets misinterpreted a lot. It's kind of a more subtle thing, but if I didn't notice when I was first reading, but Yasuho is like using the Calamity being put onto Joshu to like figure out what to do next, because
no, I know. I just, that panel, the way he draws Joshu's face is like so demonic,
so funny. It is incredibly creepy. No, but I think it's a very cool section. Yeah.
K coming back after 90 chapters.
Oh
or
my
whatever.
god, yeah, that was unexpected. But I think it's cool how she's like going through the phone, and it's like, oh, when Joshu gets closer to killing her, that means she's doing something that will hurt Toru. That's like a smart counter, right? It's like,
totally.
if I don't know what to do, I should just start guessing. Whatever gets me in the most danger is what I need to do. And apparently calling K is like the worst possible thing. Oh, and then seeing K again after like so long, Jesus Christ, that was a satisfying moment.
I really hope that she gets to have a really cool and long battle.
Okay, other thing I will say, in the flash forward, again, because I have to bring it back, in the flash forward, we see a panel where it's the photo they take at the very beginning with everyone in it. It's the exact same photo, except K isn't in the photo, if you look at it. She's been removed from the photo for no reason. Every other character's there. K is not in that photo, and that caused so many theories as to what was going to happen. That didn't lead anywhere. I guess it was just because, like, oh, she's not actually a Higashikata, but again, Josuke's in that photo, so what's happening there?
Yeah.
Flash forward, bad. Continuing on. This section of the story, kind of cool, because, you know, wow, K's back, this is incredible. Then she dies. But I remember that first time seeing the Born This Way panel again. It's just suddenly, boom, she's there. It's like, oh my god, that's crazy. Cue the Lady Gaga music. I was getting ahead of myself. I forget we get this whole section with the plane. We get the ticking time bomb, another one, because we have to have so many clocks. There's a plane door flying towards the house. Because everyone has said this before. If Toru is in All-Star Battle, this has got to be his level 3 super, is the plane door crashing into the enemy.
I want his first super to be the cane, though, going into their head.
Oh, yeah, the cane breaking off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, legitimately, the spread where Born This Way is coming into the room for the first time, that is, like, one of the single best spreads in JoJo.
Oh, yeah. The freaking double pages in the entirety of One Review are so
insane.
Good. I literally said that he gets so much better in this arc. I don't know what it is, but it's just in this arc you can tell there's a significant increase in quality.
So I recently just got all of Phantom Blood physically, and it's just so funny looking back on the art for that, and I'm like, this is not even in the same realm.
Yeah.
I would never guess in a million years that the same person drew both of these.
It's actually,
even if it's 30 years apart, it's like he's worked on his like craft for this long that look at, like, compare like One Piece, which has been going on for like 25 years, and the art style is like, it's more detailed, but it's like pretty much the same.
It's not like overhauled. This is a complete art style overhaul, and the art style has overhauled twice now, basically, like from
part 1 to 4, and then at the midway point to end of 4 to part like 6,
like beginning of 7, it's a bit of more like 6, but once you get to like end of part 7, it's different. It's very different. But
even 8, I'd argue, is a very different from part 7.
I wouldn't say very different, but it's there's a noticeable change. More than I'd expect. I noticed that I didn't notice. Well, it's pretty obvious, but at the beginning of his art style, he's very clearly just copying Fist of the North Star. That's his like main inspiration. The art, comparing side by side panels of Fist of the North Star with like Jonathan, they're the same art style, the exact same. And then just seeing the slow like transition of that is pretty crazy. So to make that transition a bit like smoother in the anime, the art style of the anime is very different than part 1 of the manga. They change a lot up. Jonathan is a very different design.
You were right. Kay does get the cane in her left eye. I
was right.
And I will concede the previous one could be a Jotaro reference. I think this one, though, we both agree, definitely is a reference to Jotaro's death.
Yeah, because it's not a split, but it's like injury in the same location.
And you have the blood go down. Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, it looks, and it's like pretty. Yeah. definitely. I think
having the cane that Wonder of You has had this whole time be like the weapon to kill K is cool. It's like, oh, it's
and then you get the big spread of Born This Way disintegrating, and then K and Rai dead on the floor.
It's like, bro, crazy. Come on. It's like, I know it had to happen, but like, could we just pull another part 4, keep him alive? But at the same time, I like it when character deaths happen. It adds more to it. But like, that was quick, man. K shows up again and is gone. It is so quick. So after
disintegrating Born This Way, I like. If you notice in the midway point of the disintegration, you can see a face in the suit.
Yeah, you see the face in the suit You see the face in the suit one time at the earlier in Born This Way. The first arc, the helmet falls off. That's how Josuke figures out to stand. It's Josuke like heads up a pole and kicks the helmet off or whatever. Which people have said like, how does Josuke kick a stand? That's not possible. Okay, we have been doing since
we did discuss this. Yes,
we've been doing since part 3. People can have their stands overlap their physical forms for ages now. I don't know why people think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Anyway, unrelated. He kicks off the helmet. Underneath the helmet is a stand face. Josuke's like, oh, this is not like a dude. This is a stand. It's glad to see you keep that consistent though.
And then you have the Soul Bubble. This is when he's gonna activate Go Beyond. And then you got the phone so that he's in contact with Yasuo now, and you have Paisley Park there. So it's just so cool. I want this in All-Star Battle R. I want Josuke with Paisley Park. It'd be so cool.
We're leading into the section with the plane door or whatever. And I think it's a fun moment where Yasuo is just looking up. It's like, what is that? And it's just this small little speck in the sky, and it's so intimidating. Wonder of You is very, very scary, very, very nicely done, Araki. The hatred for Wonder of You going away once I see the Wonder of You do anything. And then we get the freaking coolest thing ever with Josuke pointing his bubble like a freaking tusk bullet with his finger or whatever.
So cool.
It's such a cool visual, and it's like has the sound effects or whatever, everything. And he's pointing at him, and one review's like, what are you doing? What are you, a bozo? And you can hear like the Mamazuku, the freaking, they don't exist, Josuke. The bubbles, they don't exist. They're not real, Josuke. You have to believe in yourself. It's the spin. And
this is the part where in the colored version, I believe that this is when they do at least soon, where they have 4 Rai hands.
Yes, it's supposed to be Rai's hands and then K's hands, but the colorist of Shueisha decided this is just 4 sets of Mamazuku hands. Let's color them all the same.
I just saw this in the version done for the fan edits. They actually edited it.
They changed it?
Because it says the original panel, yikes, and it points at the thing with 4 arms. So when you look at it in the actual thing...
I'm looking at black and white right now, so...
Okay, got it. I'm looking at the color just because I haven't... I didn't look at it when these colored...
Yeah, I get it. No, I totally get it.
But I found that hilarious that they actually went back and recolored it. But yeah, they did. They fixed it.
It's because it's such an easy fix, because Shueisha is trash at their jobs for the most part. They do some good coloring sometime. I get the amount of effort.
You do good coloring, but like it's insane that fans have to fix like the errors for it. Yeah, and this has been even a bigger problem. This is a small tangent. This has been a bigger problem with just JoJo translations as a whole, with like the black boxes in part 5 and stuff, going over the art and stuff. It really pisses me off when the fans can like cut around the art and like redraw it and make it like faithful. And then they're just like, oh, what if we just put a black box with the chapter title over a quarter of the panel?
And a lot of in recent Viz releases,
this
like
does
part
not
5,
happen. This does not happen in the part 1 through 3 Viz releases.
It's very true. In like more recent 4 to 5, and probably will happen with 6. For instead of hand editing out the Japanese chapter titles, covering up the art and then putting in their own text and then cleaning it up like the English fan translations do, they just put like a black box over the whole thing, covering up the art, and just put text over it, which is the laziest possible solution you could possibly do.
Yeah, and it's very, very frustrating when it's like, we want to charge you a premium price for this. We're gonna make you guys wait a million years because we're recording this, and today they just announced that Part 6 is getting a physical release. And it's just like, you guys can't do the bare minimum to redraw the panels when fans have been doing it for 15 years now.
It's
whatever.
It's
Small tangent about the official releases of this.
Anyways, I think it's a cool play on the original like Tusk like shooting fingernail bullet trope, to where he shoots the thing out of his finger, but actually it's the one out of his shoulder that's like the one or whatever. Because the one out of his, he just shoots the bubble to get the shoulder bullet going, which it's a nice twist on the original spin.
Also, something kind of interesting is that this is when it was officially revealed, Western side, that Toru was spelled Toru.
Yeah.
So they changed it in the fan translations of the updated color volumes to say Toru spelled that way and match it. And they also changed head doctor to be hospital director.
Yeah, I still call him head doctor.
More accurate. Yeah, I still call it's just easier. It rolls off the tongue. But for that, we get to go and we get an even like more epic version of the Josefumi and Kira.
You get like a retrain, where
it's so cool.
Some extra Josefumi dialogue is always fun, and it transitions into the Go Beyond bubble.
It's so good.
We get to see a little panel emoji Killer Queen. How fun! How fun! How nice! Thank you, Araki. Good fan service. The famous. I've never seen another manga do this. Why does he do like put the little face
emojis of Killer Queen?
Yeah. Well, I've never seen any other manga do this. I don't know why he does it. I think it's fine, but he really end of part 7 he went so overboard. I think it's me editing.
The bubbles coming out of the birthmark
right now. Put up on screen right now the funny Valentine panels where every other word he says has like an emoji. I know the one I'm talking about. Put it on screen right now. It gets a bit insane. Here, we're good. I barely noticed it.
The bubbles coming out of his birthmark is such a cool visual,
and it also calls back to like his first
appearance, first chapter,
where the bubbles would come out of his birthmark. Also, when I was rereading at the very beginning, he can only shoot bubbles from his birthmark. That's a very specific thing.
But that changes
in the fight with Fun, his shoulders up against the wall, and so he has to move it out of the way in order to get a bubble out. But that changes. I won't call it a pothole.
I can attribute it to him just learning how to use his stand better. Yeah, it's nothing that's that crazy. But of course I always am a sucker when they bring back the birthmark in a major way. So it's super cool.
Let me get Obla Die.
Yeah.
Which is just like a.
It's there. I forget about it. Who cares?
Who cares? But it's a distraction.
We have the plane door coming to the house.
Yes.
It's such a cool juxtaposition to have. So it's like the head doctor and the or at this point it's like Wonder of You. So Wonder of You and Paisley Park are with Josuke, and then Yasuo and Toru are like together.
Yeah.
So they're like both playing mind games here.
But they're super far apart from each other. It's a cool like there's one fight going on, but it's like covering a lot of distance. It's cool. And Josuke has to like defeat Toru before the plane door hits Yasuo. Yeah. And that's like the main thing. That is a much better way to build tension than just there's a countdown in the corner.
Yeah. We got another one of the best spreads in all of JoJo. Crazy. Which is the finger going to his face.
This is my favorite spread of JoJo, period. This is my favorite set of panels. Good. This is the best one. I remember when I read this initially, I was like, oh, this is so cool. What's going to happen? And then the Obla Die, I will say, for as much as I don't care about Obla Die, it's like whatever. The fact that it like blocks the bullet or whatever and redirects it, that's a cool Calamity. It's like, how could he block this? And it's not like a light bulb falls from the ceiling. It's like something that was already established that was here. It's not like out of nowhere. We're not going too Final Destination-y for this. And then we get the bubble going through Paisley Park through the phone, which Go Beyond is very cool for how ass-fully it is. It's
just a cool thing to have him have to work in tandem with Yasuo for it.
Yes, it's showing their connection or whatever, but it's through their abilities, and it's like, oh, he has to aim with her. It's like, oh my god, and that's how she's able to avoid the plane doors, because the Go Beyond bullet hits him. And he gets messed up by it, man. It like there's we got a lot of blood here.
Yeah. He's actually alive, guys.
He's actually
unlike Jobin.
Yeah.
Jobin's gonna come out of the bushes and be like,
"Oh my god!"
Yeehaw.
Toru survives the direct Go Beyond bullet to the heart, except Jobin can't survive a tiny little like air can needle in his stomach. Oh, that's right. We get Hato and like Daya and the others finally show up after this point. After the plane door crashes into their house. I feel like they could have used the rest of the Higashikatas a bit more in this fight. Like, they were involved more in like Vitamin C. They felt like more as a group.
Yeah, that's why I love Vitamin C.
It's mostly just the main trio in this section.
We still have Tsurugi getting all rock diseased. And then you kind of finish the thing. So now we kind of, this is the end. This is where you're like, okay, they're gonna wrap it up here.
Yep.
I personally, did you think that Toru was gonna kill Yasuo at this point?
At this point, I was scared, but ever since she got I thought it was too much effort to have her heal her arm to just kill her.
And then immediately kill her. Yeah.
I felt like it. I felt like once she got her arm chopped off, I thought she was dead. Once she healed it, I thought she was safe. That's how it went.
I know it's like an effect of the Calamity, but I still do like Joshu using Nut King Call like one last time here.
Yeah.
At least to attempt to do something, even though it's all a Calamity effect. And I like how the girder or whatever like comedically bumps onto his head. Or it's not a girder, it's the gutter on the top of the house.
Yeah.
And it hits his head, and it's just like...
It unscrews it or whatever, get it? Because his ability is screws too. It's funny. It's funny comedic. At least Joshu always gets his comeuppance, I will say. It's not like he just gets away with it. Like, he always gets, like, heavily injured.
And then you have another Go Beyond bubble go into Toru's neck.
and he's still alive, by the way.
Add the gif at this point of Norisuke cleaning Toru off of his car.
Right there it is on the screen there. Very humorous. Humorous gif.
And you just have his like whole body ripped apart at this point. I mean, he obviously would die eventually. And then you have Kato come in, which must have been the most like insane panel. Because I did not read this monthly. I read it after it was already done. So it must have been insane reading that and having Kato
I did not get spoiled that Kato showed up. And suddenly she was just there. I'm like, what is going on? What? At this point, I was like, we're going to have 10 more chapters after this. Clearly, something big's going to happen. Nah. She shows up.
The true main villain.
And then if Mangadex loads, there we go. The next chapter, we immediately get her first line of dialogue is freaking Inca no Mazame potatoes.
Yeah.
Thanks, JoJo. That's her first words she says in 50 chapters. some random dish. And then it gets really sad because it's like, oh. And at this chapter, I was like, okay, Jobin is super dead. I was like, there's no way. We get the shot of his corpse in the corner and that she says she's dead. I'm like, okay, sure. And then Kato freaking... Okay, first Dora has a good moment where he's like bleeding out and everything, and he picks up a saw and is still like I don't hear no bell, and he's still holding it there. And he's like, there's a rock on atop some hills or whatever. He does his main villain monologue. He gets his ideology or whatever, and he's like, Jobin, everything Jobin did not matter at all. You suck and die. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Okay, I get it.
He does like the Blade Runner Tears in the Rain monologue at this point. I mean, I really like this part. And space trucking is very cool.
Space trucking is very cool. It is very dumb how she invalidates Wonder of You because she's not attacking because she doesn't think she's attacking. Like, what does that mean? What do you mean by that? She's like, oh, I'm just putting cards on you with the intent to kill you. I'm not attacking you.
It might kill you, maybe. I don't know.
I don't think I am though. Really, I'm helping Tsurugi. It's an act of love, not like hate or something. I don't know. Whatever.
I guess because the intention isn't to kill him; it's to transfer the rock disease.
Yes, which will kill him, but you know, whatever.
But I'm saying
that's a side effect, so whatever.
Yeah, it's a side effect.
I don't think I don't think it's a good decision to have Kato's character arc go from I'm gonna kill someone in order to prevent my child dying from rock disease and then go to jail to I'm going to kill another person to prevent another child getting rock disease. My character has evolved and changed so much. And
it's so funny in these panels, Toru's legs are just completely mangled in the most inhuman positions possible.
It's actually great. And then we get a Jobin flashback, this is the final Jobin scene, which this especially was like, okay, he's super dead. It's like wow. If you get the flashback, you're dead. Okay, I get it. Yeah. This is mostly just to explain how Kato knew what was happening and everything. Because we had been again missing her for so long. And
we get the Beatles one last time too.
Yeah, Jobin's Beatles. Who inherits the Beatles? Ooh, Joshu.
Next
with the
part,
Beatles.
We're gonna have Joshu with his robot arm, with like his mechanized Beatles.
Yes. And then we get Tsurugi in the space trucking cards or whatever, which is a fun reveal. And he's like, Toru's like, wait, no, wait.
No. It's so good. I love the reveal.
That's a fun part.
Pick a card, any card. If Marvel writers wrote JoJolion.
And this is basically what kills Toru. Also due to the fact that he's bleeding out heavily at this point. He already would die. He was already gonna die.
I mean, but it's more to prevent like more damage from being done.
Yeah, it's also to break the curse, you know, JoJolion, as Yasuo says later.
Yes, this is a story about breaking the curse, of course.
And Kato crushes the rest of the fruit or whatever. She like destroys the remnants of it. And we get a cool panel of freaking Wonder View jumps Kato, like not even like last resort, like I'm done with rock insects. I'm just straight up beating you to death. But then before he can do anything, his head explodes. And then we get the villain death thing where he's like, "No, you can't do this to me. I'm cooler than you and epic Yasuo. Please kill her. I'm so epic and cool. I actually kind of liked you. I shouldn't have tried to kill you. My bad. Wait, no. And then he dies.
It's super interesting to me how Josuke is not in the same physical location as them when the villain dies.
Yes.
That's got to be like one of the only times where the main protagonist doesn't. I mean, he's obviously involved because he does the soft and white bubbles.
You could say, if we're talking about, like, part 1, Dio is defeated, but, like, I'll count that as just, like,
I count part 1. He was supposed to be dead until later on he wanted to bring him back.
Part 2, Cars doesn't die, but Cars is out of commission forever, so
exactly.
Joseph was directly there for that. Part 3, Jotaro was there. Part 4, Josuke was same space. Part 5,
Josuke and Jotaro, yeah.
Jolene was the only other one where she was just straight up gone.
Well, yeah, because it's then. But even then, you have the you have Emporio with like both of the things in the background. I mean, it's still, Jolene's dead.
And then we see the Narusuke's car. he's disintegrating, and we get probably my favorite actual bit of characterization is like Toru's like last line or whatever, saying like, "Oh, I thought I saw a hornet, but it was just one of my memories." I guess like it's a cool like last like moment. I don't know why that like hits hard for me. It's a very specific like I just really like that a lot. It doesn't mean that much, but I think it's a really cool final moment or whatever. I think about that a lot.
I don't understand why they killed off Kato.
Instead of Norisuke? Yeah. Oh, it's
instead of Norisuke.
It's because they needed her to sacrifice herself to make a character arc instead of her. Again, as I was saying, her just literally be doing the same thing again and not growing at all.
I'm just annoyed because like I understand Calamity does extra damage, but she is hit in legitimately like the least vital area in your abdomen you could get hit.
Yeah, it's
I don't get it.
It's just like. Also, she's like, "Oh, I guess crushing the branch was an attack on him, and killing him wasn't, and throwing a child at him was not killing. What counts then? It just feels it feels like she should have been it would have been a cool kind of more campy shonen moment, even though it's not shonen anymore. Shut up. Where Kato could have been like gritting through the calamities in order to get Tsurugi on Toru. Like, imagine if she took. Cool. Imagine if she was putting every time she put a card on Toru, she got hit by something, and she was like missing like 2 limbs by the end. And her final act is putting Tsurugi on. It would have been so much better, and it would have shown like, oh, she's sacrificing herself instead of like, oh, that the last second.
I never would have guessed that they would say JoJolion in the part, and they actually do.
I found. Look, it does it again. Freaking K is not in the freaking family group. K's taken out of it. Oh my god. Okay. JoJolion is a story about breaking a curse. My god.
I can't believe they say it.
It does the meme everyone was saying where it's like they're gonna be.
This is truly the JoJolion.
Yeah, he literally says it. And then they explain all the stuff, yada yada, narration. Oh, people are dying. And this is like the end. This is like the ending. And then we reached the flash forward, which was just wrong.
You mean flashback? You're talking about
we reached the flash forward. Got it. Which is now just the present. Because everything we've been seeing had been technically flashback.
Yep.
And this is just not how the events of the flash forward
burn on the blood vessel is really minor.
I don't think he wasn't in the garage, was he, in the flash forward? I don't think he was.
No, he was in the I think it's implied that Tsurugi brings him
out. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
Because he dies I remember Jobin kills him in like the room.
In the office or whatever, yeah.
I can kind of recreate the Higashikata house in my memory from how much we see of it. And then Tsurugi's like, Dad didn't kill Nursuke. Jobin was actually nice the whole time. It's like in retrospect kind of makes the best chapter worse because it ruins the tension there and all like thematic
so funny to like be at the end here and then have one review reach out from under the car.
It's like when I saw that I was like, no, what are you doing? Araki's on crack. Araki has lost it. He's back. And then Norisuke's dying. It's like, what, why? It's like, what's going on? And then Yasuo is like, it's like a natural force of calamity. The head doctor is never going to go away. And then I will say,
BIG alternate.
Freaking Josuke on your left moment over here.
Yes,
it's cool. Should have happened earlier. You know what? You want to know why? Freaking he brought Head Doctor back. One review. It's because he wanted Josuke to get a final like shot. He didn't want Kato to do it. That's all this is. It feels like he had like a limited page count. He literally ends him in 2 pages.
Yeah, he wanted Josuke to be the final word in the fight.
And
I love that Go Beyond panel.
After the cool as hell Go Beyond stuff, we get the cool panel of Wonder View fading for good. Hopefully, do not bring him back in part, please. Even though it's completely possible.
Bring Wonder View back as a one arc villain.
That would be fun. That would be a fun little thing.
Unironically, it would be fun to have him back as a one arc.
Bring back every single possible stand user that is alive at this point. That could possibly do another freaking Sugar Mountain. Do a freaking bring back Magent. Bring him back. He's stuck in that river.
Yes.
Someone definitely should have found him at this point, right?
How crazy would that be?
If Magent was back, that would be peak. And we get Radio Gaga, which is just...
I love the Radio Gaga art.
It's nice and fun. I don't want to go too in-depth into Radio Gaga because it's mostly seems to be building up to later parts of and stuff. Yeah. Because it's going to be Joseph's Descendant, so I don't want to talk about too much here.
I'm a sucker for the whole lineage, and one of the parts about Part 8 that I don't like is there's just so much time in between. You feel kind of disconnected from the bloodline,
especially since 1 to 6 was so interconnected from part to part.
Yeah, adding Joseph in makes it just so much like better, and he's like a fully fledged like new Joseph who even if we never saw him again, it's almost like you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like the War Doctor in Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Where you have a one-off hero that you know that he's gone on these other adventures, or like he eventually probably goes on these other adventures, but he's only in one chapter basically, and it's cool that you have Joseph
and
here.
I think there's enough of Joseph in these 2 chapters to kind of, like, I don't need to see him ever again. I want to see him again because I want to see all the good characters again. But he gets enough moments. He gets to show off his stand. He gets the little clacker reference. How fun. And he gets, like,
character design is great, too.
Yeah.
Love it. It's so different, too. It's like a school uniform. And he has the like, almost like Steel Ball Run, the horse and the
yeah, he's completely Steel Ball Run themed as design wise. He has the logo and everything. To be fair, Steel Ball Run has its own like hat shop in Morio, so it's fair to say.
There's also all the theories here about that he had a girlfriend here already, so that Josefumi I'm going to call Joseph here Joseph and not Josefumi to make it
easier.
Easy.
Yes.
Josefumi. There's theories that. I've already said that I believe he's a direct descendant somehow, but some people think that he is a direct descendant of Joseph. I think he's just a descendant of, like, one of his brothers or something.
Yeah.
But just to remember that he has a girlfriend back here, so whatever. Lucy Steele, you get the closure of her story, which is crazy that she gets a mini arc across all of JoJolion too.
That's kind of it's crazy. And we get this own like little short story. Feels like a Rohan thing, like a little supernatural events happening. Yeah. The Radio Gaga incident.
I mean, obviously, you could tell that we both like this part, considering Hermit Purple is our channel icon.
Yes.
From this part, I think it's just such a cool design, and giving him the giving Hermit Purple a full like humanoid design is like just really cool.
And after going through one review for like years, it was so refreshing seeing anything different. It was such a like, whoa, everything's changing.
It feels like a mini JoJo part, like a very small like slice.
It feels like a side story. It feels like this could be like one short, like if they released these in like longer episode batches or whatever, this feels like one episode of a show or of an anthology.
I feel like in part 9, if there's some theories that it's going to be about like tracking down the other Joestar members or whatever. It'd be cool to get like these 1 or 2 chapter things, like fleshing them out as if they were like the main Joestar for a chapter. I like that we see what ends up happening to him. They don't leave that to
tell your imagination. Yeah, they show a mangled corpse. Very, very mangled. And it's just this random guardrail, which Araki's challenge of making every single physical object in the world a JoJo reference, he just keeps on going. It's like, now whenever I see a guardrail, I always think of Radio Gaga.
Yeah.
What else?
What else here?
This goes on for a while. Cool stuff. He summons Hermit Purple.
I cannot believe that he referenced the clackers after this long, because he's been on record before saying like, I don't get why people like were talking about the clackers so much or whatever. Because he was like, oh, it's just because the clackers only show up for one fight in part 2.
Yeah, and the gag here is he looks at the clackers, he's like, what the hell are these? And throws them away and uses his stand instead.
I love it. I love it.
What a cool guy. And then we get Lucy sees Toru. Oh my god.
It's like he knew. I swear to God, he knew the criticisms of the part, and it was like, I'm just gonna twist the knife here.
It's like Toru was there the whole time with the fruit. It's like, oh my god.
Having freaking Lucy, a character that interacted with everyone in part 7, like see Toru
is so crazy.
Not okay.
Okay. We get the origins of the reveal name. Yeah.
Yeah, I like the reveal of the Joestar birthmark too, and having her realize. And
she's like, oh, I knew a person with that birthmark before, and we get that one shot as she sees Toru. We get that one shot where she's reminiscing of being with like Johnny or whatever. It's like a super small panel or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's fun. But we get the reveal that Josefumi's name is based off of Joseph's the reading
sandal.
of his name on the sandal, which was probably his intent was just coincidence. Probably it could either connect to a cool headcanon, or it could also just be a part 4 part. I like how part 8 and part 4 both have flashback men that like are very like plot holy to people.
Yeah,
except,
that's true.
I just realized that part 4 is flashback men, which looks like Josuke. People were saying this is clearly Josuke from the future, time traveling back, which was not a thing.
Obviously.
It's kind of connected to that. It's like, oh, it's just kind of like a random coincidence. It's like, oh, they found this sandal and they named him after it, and that's why he's connected like that. Then we get lore, and then it's like, oh, all the information. It's like, oh, the architect was
the family
Yatsuyo.
tree lore, everything. I love it. I love
it. Wraps everything up.
All,
how nice. Thank you. And then we get like the
Such
final.
a clever way to wrap things up. I would have never. I know, obviously, this is gonna play into JoJo Lands with Joseph, but like, it's such a clever way to wrap things up using a new JoJo.
Absolutely.
It's so cool.
We get the final like conversation between Yasuho and Josuke or whatever, where they by chance meet Josefumi's mom or whatever. We get that moment where
I love that part.
We get the moment where Josuke's like, I don't really care anymore. I'm not Josefumi. It's like, that's not who I am. And then Yasuho's like, actually, she did care about you the whole time. He's like, okay.
I do love that moment, but because that's after another moment I want to talk about, I'm just gonna backtrack it.
Yeah, no, it's fine. You can backtrack. It's fine. I'm skipping ahead.
The specific wording he uses here, and he says they ... might still exist ... like in some other land in the Southern Islands. I totally think that has to, right?
Well, let me find the translation that I have right now. What
they might still exist like in some land in the Southern Islands.
I'm trying to remember.
This is page 32 of the last chapter.
Yeah, okay, and this version essentially says the same thing. It says they might still exist like in some land to the islands of the south. That can search for other Lokakaka. So I 1000% think that is the same thing. I think I think it is going to be disconnected for the first 30-40 chapters, and then you're gonna realize either he will have already found it there, something is gonna happen. And then we get yada yada yada, memories and dreams, cool JoJo monologuing.
I love the part where you see all the images of Josefumi.
And then we see Josuke turn back one more time, but she's already gone and everything. Then they move on or whatever, and then we get the final scene. We're back at the fruit parlor, back where we met Jobin. I can't believe we defeated the main villain Jobin and went back to the place where we first met him.
They didn't have the dad here.
Yeah,
they don't North State here.
Why bother keep him alive if you're not gonna have him in the final scene? Whatever. It's for the moment, so it's like, oh, he should pick the cake or whatever. They could have done that with him too.
Yeah,
whatever, man.
That's true.
And it's like, they all start crying.
Man, the food looks like super good here.
Oh yeah,
I want to go. How have they not opened a Higashikata fruit parlor in Japan?
It's because everyone's speed reading part 8. They don't actually know that they're fruit vendors.
They're gonna open up the JoJo lands in real life.
And then Joshu has baby arm.
Oh my god. So
all the way
stupid.
to the
And he's just like in the corner shaking.
He's just like quivering. Everyone's just so sad because their mom that they didn't care about at all. Remember that? Remember they didn't like her at all? She died and now they're sad? Why wasn't this about Narusuke? Okay, whatever.
Also, just remember they never mention Mitsuba still like having a child too. You think that would be something that would be mentioned with Jobin dying and being like
part.
I mean I do believe that, but
and then we get the final thing where they let Josuke pick the cake and Yasuho leaves them.
And you get Osuke in the corner. He's there.
Osuke, he's alive. Hello, little rock dog. Thank you for being here the whole part. And then JoJolion is over. And
it is kind of funny. People have mentioned this before that Tsurugi is still dressed up like a girl. I guess because people just say he's used to it, but it's still funny after
because
the whole thing.
It's Araki's technique of the character is not allowed to change their character design.
Yeah,
ever.
No, totally.
We have been talking for quite a hot second, so we should probably wrap things up.
I think all I'm gonna say, as my final thoughts on JoJolion, is that I think it's the second best part. I think a lot of parts about it that people say are like awful or whatever gets like overblown, and can be said about other parts. I think that Toru is obviously the weakest point. Everyone admits this. Everyone that has a brain, like, I mean, I don't want to discredit people that think
there are
that,
Toru
like
defenders
Toru
out there. Okay, I understand.
Or whatever.
I
don't want to but like, I think 99% of JoJo fans can admit he's probably the worst villain in the series. Besides, I mean,
Even though a lot of people, again, Wonder Review is so peak, it kind of clouds people's images.
Wonder Review is
talking about Toru's characterization as himself and not his ability.
I think when you look at the broad strokes of JoJolion and the themes of it, I think it's so much stronger than something like Part 3. Where
absolutely.
You know what I mean? Where even if Part 3 is maybe a more cohesive part, it's like...
Part 3 is just an adventure story. There's not much more to it. It's just an adventure,
but this has, like, it's just so much more depth and the lore to it. It's like, it's so cool.
It's very cool. Overall, my final thoughts... you finish and then I'll go on mine.
In Part 7 and 8, Araki was able to create a more interesting universe than Part 1 through 6 did.
Oh, absolutely. The lore is far superior to the original universe, and we only have 2 parts, so I will be amazed to see
this is why we leave our hot takes to the end of our 2 and like a hour, 15-minute discussion.
Yeah, something like that, yeah. So my final thoughts, my overall encompassing thoughts is I think JoJolion is literally like in the exact middle of my ranking of all the JoJo parts. I think JoJolion is by far the most mixed bag, which is disappointing because JoJolion has some of the least favorable moments and some of the peak moments of all of JoJo, surpassing that of even the legendary like Part 7 Part 7 is my favorite, but there's moments in this that surpass even that. And that's what makes JoJolion that's what makes Toru and like the whole ending arc so disappointing, is that it could have been so much more. That's my final thoughts, is that the reason why it's such a mixed bag is because there's so many good parts that I really, really wish it was that good until the very end, but it falters in some places, and so I can't respectfully give it anything higher than like the midsection. I still think overall it is like, compared to every other series on the planet, it surpasses them greatly in practically every regard. But if we're looking at this in an overall JoJo sort of viewpoint, it doesn't compare to some more cohesive. Even with like, I think Part 5 is better than Part 8. I know some people don't think that. But I think Part 5
is not better than Part 8.
Part 5 as a whole is much more... No, my opinion is not discarded. Part 5 as a whole is a lot more clean. There's a lot less bumpy parts than Part 8. So whenever I think of something good in Part 8, I can't help but think of random bad Wonder Review moment or Toru. And I can't get it out of my head. So I'll keep my opinion, but and by no means think JoJolion is bad. I think JoJolion more than makes up for it in other areas.
So for the people that are still listening this far in and who have listened throughout this entire thing,
why are you here, man?
Thank you for listening to this. And I guess I'll just say this now. We're gonna go, now that we've done JoJolion, we really just wanted to do JoJolion before Part 9 to get our opinions out, because it's gonna be relevant, because we're gonna be calling back to them a lot, I'm sure, during our Part 9 chapter discussions. So we just kind of were like, let's just get all of our opinions, because we in so many videos we ended up talking about Part 8. So after this, we're now gonna go back to Part 1. This probably won't start until after Part 9 starts, but the next retrospective we're going to do is on Part 1.
Yes.
And then our plan from there is to go Part 2, Part 3, to Part 7, basically.
We'll make it through, and they will not be as long as Part 8's, because Part 8 has so much to go over, being the longest and having, again, the most detail to it.
Totally. The longest chapters, the longest everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So... thank you so much for watching till this point in the video. I cannot tell you this. We've been talking for so long, and if you've watched every single video up to this point, that is like so much time. Each video is like basically an hour long, and this is over 2. So thank you so much. Please, if you're at this point, you're probably already subscribed. If you haven't, we're doing more of these. If you're at this point, go ahead and subscribe. Leave us a like, and comment down below anything to JoJolion related. This is an insanely intriguing part to talk about. That's why we did this. So I want to hear what you guys have to say about it. But that's really all for this time. So until our Part 1 retrospective, this has been JoJOverdrive signing off. Watch where you going, overdrive. Let the downside up to top notch, whatever haters do.